let's, come on. Okay, we're gonna get here eventually, I'm sure of it. Okay, well, as soon as we get these lights to come on, there we go. Last one, there it is. Okay. Now, I think everything is working. I've got a couple of different cameras going on. New microphone, newish microphone over here. Let's make sure that this is doing something. It says, I think it says we're live. Okay, we're live. Can anybody let me know if everything sounds okay? I don't have a way to really monitor this, so I'm relying on you guys for some of that help as well. Let's see, let's jump back over to here maybe. Okay, well, so really all I'm doing every time, man, I don't know if you can hear that. There's a facility behind me here that's got mechanical issues most of the time. Super frustrating. Super frustrating. And there it goes. All right. So let's come over to here. This doesn't tell me hardly anything. That sucks. Sorry, it's been a while since I've done a live stream. A couple of months, I think. And there are just certain things that I am super rusty on that I wasn't great to start with, but you know, here we are. Let's see, make sure. Come on, there we go. Okay, it says there's like 15 of you in here. Call it fewer than that. 12. And okay, that's fine. Can somebody give me an idea of if this sounds okay? Can you hear me? Can you hear the words coming out of my mouth? That would be super swell to know. Nothing. Chat. Okay, so man, no, I don't care about that right now. 11 watching. Okay, well, oh hey, there we go. Where we hear you. Come on, folks, hit the like button. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Allison. Super appreciate that. Sorry, I've got some weird lag stuff going on over here. Can I do live chat? Maybe that will change it. Man. Okay. Kieran, Soldiers, Peter, Allison, thank you for joining me today. Hopefully my chat over here in OBS will catch up at some point. It is, man, let's swap these around. That's just super frustrating. Okay, cool. So I think we're on this camera. Yeah. Okay. So I'm actually working on a review. This live stream isn't that review necessarily. What I'm working on is do I have it? Well, screw it. Let's just do it this way. Top down. There we go. It's this. This is the ISG Display Max from Lincoln Link. And basically the idea behind it is that it can control your Home Assistant instance, right? And like if you go to the homepage, well, the homepage isn't going to tell us much of anything because I don't have anything hooked up. But the idea here is that that this can be a touchscreen dashboard for your Home Assistant configuration if you already have one. You can do the same thing with a tablet, but this is actually pretty slick. The problem is that I've been messing with it for the last few days, and because I've been messing with it, because I actually imported, if I come into settings and then I can go to like Home Assistant service, over here there's some stuff for Home Assistant, and you can add an existing Home Assistant service or setup to this, and that's what I have done. The problem is that if you remove that, or if you remove a Home Assistant service or setup or whatever and want to go back and kind of start from scratch, there are two ways you can go about it. The first one being, let me just do this. Sorry, we'll get this to catch up here in just a second. I apologize. I've been doing some weird stuff over here. But basically the idea is that you can again have this as a Home Assistant dashboard, hang it on your wall, and have a nice little interface to interact with your Home Assistant. But if you change your setup or want to start over, you can do a factory reset, which is a catastrophe. Look, there's tech support was super helpful, but it was kind of a nightmare until I was able to reach out to tech support, and that's going to come in. I'll be talking about that in the actual video, but let me just come back over to here. So I've got like all of these devices in here, and they're all offline because I've removed the Home Assistant that was attached to this, but it imported all of the devices. And you would think maybe I just go up here to edit. You can't remove anything from here. So if I want to remove this stuff, I have to go through like one device at a time to remove this. Man, I need to move my face to somewhere. Let's put me over here. I think that will be better, so that I don't have that. Come here. We're gonna get this together as a team effort or something. We're gonna get there. Control center, built-in Home Assistant. Allison, you're absolutely right. That's kind of what I was trying to get to. Is that you can use an existing Home Assistant setup just by going into settings and then add HA service, and then you can put in the name, the IP address, the port, and then the user token of the already existing setup that you've got. Or you can come over here to HA service, and you can go to the ISG HA service, and that service is currently starting. Yeah, in fact, it actually says starting right there. So it does both. So if you don't have a Home Assistant setup, or you don't have a Home Assistant server, you can use this as your Home Assistant server, and kind of an app overlay that will import most everything from your Home Assistant into the app. It's very cool. It's a very cool device, but the software on it's still a bit wonky in my opinion. And I know I don't do a lot of Home Assistant content here on the channel, but actually Paul Hibbert had reviewed, for this is like the Display Max. He had done the first one and this one, and then they reached out to me, and I was like, cool, I really want to try that out, but I'm finding some things about the interface that are kind of nutty, and I've reached out to him about it. So that's what's going on, is that I thought, it had been a couple of months since we had done a live stream together. I think it hasn't been since I hit 80,000 subscribers. I think that was like 2 months ago. And I thought I'm going to be sitting here kind of doing a lot of really repetitive stuff. And I thought, why not make the best of it and chat with you guys for a while, while I'm going through and deleting dozens upon dozens of devices, and some of them are actual hardware devices, and some of them are sensors, and some of them but they're all classified as devices for the sake of what this system does. So I thought, while I'm going through and deleting dozens of devices and sensors and all kinds of stuff, I thought maybe we could hang out and we could chat, while I'm doing this really, really tedious stuff. Stop Thinking says hello, sir. Well, hello to you, Stop Thinking. I appreciate you coming by to hang out while I do the most repetitive thing I think I've ever done. Maybe not ever, but in a really, really long time. I'm really sad that this doesn't have the option to click that pen up there and select a bunch of them and remove multiple devices at once. But here we are. This is what we're going to be doing today, and hopefully getting you guys to converse and chat and ask questions and all kinds of stuff, whether it's about this or about about whatever's on your mind. I just thought maybe we could hang out. Spectacular Austin, good question. So I covered this earlier, but I don't mind covering it again. So basically, this is the Link ISG Display Max. Not only does it interface with an existing home server setup, but it also lets you. It has a Home Assistant server built into it, so it can actually control multiple Home Assistants, or it can be your Home Assistant, or like it does all kinds of things, right? So while I'm doing this testing, one of the things I wanted to test out was importing my existing Home Assistant server. And it did that, and it did it really well, and it was very nice to use. But I want to go back to to factory settings, basically, to try some additional things with some of the hardware that's built into this. And the only way to do that is to manually, one at a time, delete every device and every sensor and everything that this dashboard thinks is a device. And there's like, we're getting there. I still got a couple of dozen here, but I wanted to kind of take it back to factory settings. And unfortunately, you can't you can't just come into like this little edit pencil that's up here. If you click that, it lets you organize your spaces and devices into space and that sort of thing, but there's no way to manually delete multiple devices at once. So I'm doing this so that I can go back to factory settings so that I can do more testing on it. And this is definitely going to be something that gets brought up in the video. But I've reached out to the folks at Lincoln Link. They're the manufacturers of the device. I've reached out to them and said, hey, look, this is going to be a really tedious process. I really feel like you need to add the ability to select and delete multiple devices simultaneously, because the other option is to come into the system. Like if I come into here, I can actually click my image up there. I think that's how I did it last time. Anyway, there's a way that you can actually get into effectively the underlying tablet OS and do like a full factory reset. But when I did that, I ran into issues where it was telling me that I didn't have a license, or the MAC address on this device didn't have an official license for the software. So I had to reach out to their tech support to get them to reactivate my device. And I don't want to do that again. In fact, it would probably be faster to do that. And less tedious, if I'm being completely honest. Their tech support was good for having to take care of this. But that's why I'm going through and deleting all of my devices. This was an import of an existing Home Assistant configuration that I've got on my HL15. So I'm just trying to take it back and start over. Let's see. I've missed some stuff. Perfect thing to watch while I attempt to. Oh yeah, that's cool. So doing an Oktoberfest party this evening. That sounds like a lot of fun. Allison, I agree. I 100% agree that doing a factory reset, or not being able to do a factory reset, is a problem. The thing is, like, you can do a factory reset, and look, it will keep the software on here. But if you do a factory reset like you normally would, you then have to reach out to them and have them, at least right now, you have to reach out to them and have them reactivate your license. So not ideal. So I thought I would share my boredom with you guys today, again, because it's been a couple of months since we've done one of these, and things around here have chilled out a bit, both from the hot weather perspective, and some of the stuff that was going on around the house that made it more stressful to do a live stream, that kept me from being out here for any period of time at all. And that drama, or whatever you want to call it, seems to have mostly resolved. And so I feel comfortable being out here and not having to be in there, because we finally got to a good place with the kids' meds. And I know that may sound like an awful thing to a lot of people, and I get that, but we've got an autistic 15-year-old who didn't respond well to me being hospitalized for a month at the beginning of the year, and he kind of went off the deep end, and we had to get him on some new meds, and it's taken us several months to get those meds regulated to a point where I feel comfortable leaving him alone in the house, or not alone. I shouldn't say alone. My wife is also in there, but I didn't feel comfortable leaving them alone until fairly recently, because I just couldn't trust him to not have an outburst that was going to be an issue. So this is the kind of a good way to get me back into streaming a little bit, just doing something kind of boring and repetitive while I'm chatting with you guys. And it looks like there's a bunch more of you in here. So thank you all for joining me today. I really do appreciate you so much. And you can see, if you've been watching, how repetitively boring this is. But yeah, so Let's see. Stop Thinking says, "Yep, I'm so excited to talk to you live. I found your channel a month ago, and by help of your video, I'm now using Portainer for all of my things like N8N, Uptime Kuma, Nextcloud, etc." That's amazing. I am really, really happy to hear that. That's kind of been my goal all along, is to help people kind of break away from hosted solutions for a lot of things. Look, I'm not saying that hosted solutions aren't really good for certain things, but if you're, if you're hosting, a couple of websites and you're hosting just, an ad blocker, or like a lot of that can be brought in house, literally, and save yourself some headache and some time and some money. And I really, when I first started getting into home, like self-hosting and that sort of thing, it really sparked an interest for me. And it was very, very quickly after I got my first my first self-hosted service set up, which was Plex, like it is for a lot of people. But once I got that set up, I was like, I want to make more content like this, and you guys have been super supportive in helping me pay my bills while I do these things. So thank you for that. Like, I really do appreciate you kind of coming along with my journey over the last few years with self-hosting and kind of this learning together as we go. Like when I first started this channel, I was talking out of my butt a lot, and sometimes I still do, if I'm being honest. But I was very much like, I would learn a container, I would find a container that I really liked, or a container I thought you guys would like, and I would figure it out the best I could, and I'd make a video about it without fully understanding everything I was doing at the time. I've admitted to that before, but there we go. That should be all of the devices deleted out of there. Let's do edit groups. Can we edit groups from here? Can we? I don't know. Can we do that? Oh, maybe. Oh, can we delete that group? Oops. Yep, delete device. Delete maybe. Hey, that worked. Neat. So let's see. Home, devices, there's nothing there. Groups, there's nothing there. I don't have any of my energy stuff set up. Brands, nothing there. Automations, add-ons, Home Assistant server. I thought we had done that. That's weird. Sometimes this screen is super, super slow to catch up. And settings. So maybe I'll just have to do a reboot on it. But yeah, so that's what's been going on. Let's switch over to my face here. That's not the camera we're going to use, at least for not for right now. Okay, so okay. Where are we? Okay, Peter says stop thinking. Same thing here. Been a huge help. I'm really stoked to hear that. Thank you, like, seriously, for that. Hi from Portugal, Chalupa. Dude, thanks for joining. Really appreciate you for being here. Is this device comparable to the Stream Deck? No, no, it's not at all comparable to the Stream Deck. This is a glorified tablet. And I'm not trying to sound disrespectful when I say that, but it's basically, it's got Android running on it. Android, I think 13, if I can remember how to get into it. We could actually take a look. Can I do it here maybe? No. Man, I thought, wait, maybe backup, restore, third-party services, media center. Man, I don't remember. Oh, here, it's right, it's in there, you idiot. I'm pretty sure it's in there. And if I click right there, there we go. Okay. So this is like this is Android. Like, if you've ever, oh, of course you can't see it because I am a doofus. Okay. So here we go. Sorry. This is the background of the operating system here, right? If we go into About Tablet, Android version 13. So that's the base operating system running on this. But yeah, so this is just a tablet that's been modified substantially as far as the OS and that sort of thing. So no, this is not comparable to the Stream Deck. Big Tree says, cheers from Golden. So I'm actually in Colorado Springs. I tell you what, let me do this. I tell you what, this will just be easier. Let's do this, and let's do that. Oops, there we go. Cool. I tell you what, let's just come over to here. And I'm going to turn. Crap. Sorry, I've got this new microphone set up that I both love and hate simultaneously. So I guess we're just going to put it right there and hope that it picks up my voice well enough. Let's drag you out of the way and let's come over to here. So I'm actually in Colorado Springs. I've been here since 2007 and I love it. I really do. I actually love, if I remember to look up to there, I keep looking over at myself. Hi, me, that you guys, anyway. So yeah, I've been in the Springs, since 2007 and I absolutely love it here. Can't imagine really living anywhere else other than the places I've already lived for obvious reasons. But yeah, so that's been a lot of fun. I really like it here. Peter says, I hope you're on the mend. I am. I'm actually getting ready. I'm going to try here very soon to remember to make a medical update video because it's been a couple of months on that as well. Definitely some things have changed, but for the good primarily, if I'm being honest. But yeah, so no, things are going well for me, for the kid. We both went through a pretty tumultuous medical thing. Mine was physical, his was more mental, due to no fault of his own, just kind of tied to the autism. But you know, we're on the mend together, both he and I and the wife, the three of us together. It's a collaborative effort between all of us, if I'm being completely honest here. But we're all doing better, and so yeah, that's definitely something that we're all excited about. Let's see. Armour says, "Hey dude, thanks for the open media vault videos. Not using it anymore as I swapped Proxmox, but you were great. You were a great help. Keep up the great. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I actually got my start really with self-hosting with Open Media Vault 5. Like I had a video on 4, but it was 5 for a while, and then 6 came out. And I hated 6, and then 7 came out, and 7 is better than 6, but not as good as 5 in my opinion. But I also after 5 EOL'd, I jumped over to Proxmox, and I've been loving it since. So. Armour says the stream just popped up in my YouTube feed. I'm really glad. I've been having issues with people not getting notified when I release videos, or and look, this is the first live stream I've done in 2 months or more. So yeah. Let's see. Spectacular Austin says, thinking when I found out about DB Tech in 2022, I was so excited watching his videos. People were wondering why I spent so much time watching one person. I appreciate that. Look, there are other people making very similar content, and some of it is better than mine. But they also, do other things more frequently than I do. So they do less of the Docker stuff than I typically do. I've been trying to keep in a rhythm with doing like a Docker container video like Tuesday or Wednesday, and then a hardware video Saturday or Sunday. And that's been going really well. Like, you guys have been really helping me out with views, and I appreciate that. Let's see. Thank you for saying, sorry, as Stop Thinking says, he explains things so easily, and I appreciate that. Some people, though, would argue with you and say that I talk too fast, and I know, and I can't help it. So, let's see. I loved it in 2022 when you made all the container videos because it helped me discover new open source project that I was interested in without having found otherwise. That's exactly what I've been trying to do for a while, Spectacular Austin. And now, if you guys aren't familiar with the self-host newsletter, you absolutely should be. I try to link it in my video descriptions. It's not my project. Ethan Shawley is actually the dude behind the self-host newsletter and podcast, and I get a lot of inspiration for content from him lately. Let's see. Peter says he's from Montreal. That's cool. I always wanted to go to Canada, but I've never made it. I don't know why, but I never made it to Canada. Moist Hoagie says, do you still have a 3D printer? I do have a 3D printer. I've got a Creality. Damn, I can't think of what it's called. It was the big one that's all like enclosed and stuff that came out almost a year ago. And I haven't touched it since it's been so hot. I couldn't bring myself to bring up the temperature in this room any more than it already was with all the hardware behind me. When the temperature dies down in the next few weeks, I may do some more 3D printing, but I haven't even had it on in months. Peter says, thanks for the clarification regarding the Steam Deck. You're absolutely welcome. It was a very good question. So yeah, happy to clarify on that. Stop Thinking says, also, it's been 4 years since the Nextcloud setup video. Nextcloud 9 is here with many new errors. Yeah, I don't doubt that a bit. I about once a year, I try to make myself try Nextcloud because it's got such a huge community of people, and I know that there is a use case for it, but I can't find one. I don't like the interface. I don't like all of the plugins. I don't like that you have to constantly be running cron jobs on it to keep it from slowing to a crawl. And maybe they've changed some of that since the last time I fully used it. But every time I've tried to use it in the past, it was a real awful experience. So I avidly avoid using Nextcloud because I just don't like anything about it. And I know that comes from a privileged place because I've got, Synology NAS's back here and I've got TerraMaster NAS's back here that have all of the software on there that would replace Nextcloud. So I know I'm in a privileged place to be picky like that, but I've tried so many times to actually try and enjoy Nextcloud and I just can't do it. My name here said, just joined. What is the software on the tablet? That is a Link ISG Display Max. And it is a proprietary Android application, basically, but it's also got a Home Assistant server built into it. So it can be your Home Assistant server as well as a very intuitive user interface for Home Assistant. I'm working on reviewing the device right now. It just showed up a couple of days ago. And I'm planning on doing a full review of it in a couple of different ways it can be used. But I had a bunch of stuff I had to remove from it manually one by one. So that's how the stream started, was just doing that. Just joined. Joker and Co says, hello, please. What backup solution did you recommend for Docker container and files? So for a while, it's going to depend on your setup, like what your base setup is. When I was using Open Media Vault, and even if you're not using Open Media Vault, there was, what was it? Now I can't think of what it was called. Duplicati, that's the one. Duplicati was the backup solution that I used, but it doesn't. Backing up a Docker container is a bit of a misnomer in that you're not actually backing up the container, you're backing up the data. So like you've got your Docker container running and you got your data that is interfacing with, right? You've got this user interface basically that you're interfacing with via the Docker container. So what you're actually doing is you're backing up the data that the interface is interacting with, so that if something goes wrong, you can redeploy the container with the same settings, then stop it, and then replace the new data with the old data, and then start the container back up, and everything should go back to the way it was before. And that, it works. I've absolutely done it, and it's effective. It's not a graceful solution, in my opinion. So that's honestly why I switched to Proxmox, because I like the interface on it. I like the backup solution with it. And again, I know that's not an option for everyone, but that was one of the biggest reasons why I switched from just doing even Open Media Vault or even a bare bones Docker instance to using something like Proxmox, because the backup solution is just good. But yeah, Duplicati was the system that I used both on a bare metal system and Open Media Vault for backing up Docker stuff. Let's see, Isaiah Uche, I apologize. Isaiah says, from Sudbury, Canada here, wishing you well, discover you in 2023, and you've helped my home lab so much. That's really cool. Thank you. I really appreciate knowing that. Being Scottish here, we also tend to talk too fast, so I have no problem understanding your instructions. I'm really glad to hear that. I'm actually, I think if you go back enough generations, I'm mostly Scottish. And I've been to Scotland twice, really enjoyed it, spent a few days in Edinburgh. Spent basically a couple of weeks in air over there on the coast, and then had a really great time. Went to Fringe in 2011, I think. Fringe was amazing. So yeah, really glad that you can understand me. Let's see. Isaiah says, "Have you heard of PG back web for Postgres backups? It's pretty early, but I haven't seen many people cover it." I have not. I have not seen that. I'll have to pop that open in a new tab so I can remember to go back and take a look at it. Let's see. You're right. Stop thinking. I was the one who used Uptime Kuma to run cron jobs every 3 minutes in Nextcloud. You're absolutely right. I was very pleased with myself when I realized I could kind of use Uptime Kuma like off-brand a little bit to get it to do the thing I needed it to do. But yeah. What billing software do you suggest for a hosting startup? I have no idea. I genuinely have no idea. There like back in the day, I did a little bit of hosting providing. Basically, I was reselling hosting for another provider, and I used a platform called WHCMS. Yeah, I think it was WHCMS, which allowed you to then attach to the actual hosting platform, and then it could, like if somebody signed up for hosting, it could then allocate the or build the account for them in basically no time at all. But I think it was WHMCS that I used, but that was for cPanel, if I remember correctly. So, but as far as like doing a self-hosting thing on like my own hardware, I have no idea. I've never even considered doing that. Let's see. That's cool. Oh, nice. Yeah, I know. Air Armor says that he was pretty close to Air. Yeah, it was a neat little place. There was one night. Well, there was a couple of nights that we were out on the beach, right there, and then just kind of walked through town, and it was a very, I don't know, like I'm from United States, which Colorado is bigger than all of the UK. So I hate to say like it was quaint, but it was a very chill, like just subdued area that I really dug. Like there wasn't a lot of, the speeding cars weren't going through town, loud music wasn't being played. It was just very chill, and I really enjoyed that. Sorry, when I talk, I got to drink a lot of water. See, Guhan says your videos on self-hosted solutions for day-to-day apps. I got you. Sorry, my brain took a second there. Are very good, and I'm using some of them. Would love to see more content like that in the future, dude. Yeah, yeah. So I'm what I'm trying to do right now, and I failed this weekend, but like I try to do a Docker container or a self-hosted container style video either Tuesday or Wednesday. And then either like Saturday or Sunday, I try to do a hardware video because I've got several pieces of hardware that I need to get reviewed for different companies and whatnot. So I've been trying to kind of balance that out a little bit. But some of the hardware that was, in order for me to be able to do some of the hardware reviews that I want to do or finish up, I'm waiting on other hardware to get here so I can kind of do everything all in one video. So one of the pieces of hardware that I thought I needed was actually delivered this morning, but I've got to send it back because it's not compatible with some of my other hardware, and that's been a fiasco. The vendor and I both overlooked the compatibility on this one particular thing that was going to make the rest of the review possible. So we're going to come up with a different solution. But and then I've got the Zima Cube. I don't know if you can see it behind me. In fact, I know you can't because it's down there. Where if I can fit my fingers, it's down there anyway. So I've got the Zima Cube down there, and I've been having to kind of tweak a few things here and there. But the folks at Noctua reached out with a new cooling solution for it, like they did with the HL15 that I've got back there. And that isn't scheduled to get here till Monday. And then of course I've got this, but it only showed up like yesterday or the day before. So I've got all of this hardware that's just kind of in limbo, so I didn't have a chance to get a video out this weekend. Stop thinking WHMCS. You're absolutely right. I knew it was something like that. I just couldn't remember what it was. Proxmox used by many hosting startups right now as backend and Convoy management as a front end. I've never heard of Convoy management. That's pretty cool. And virtualizer, never heard of that either. Interesting. But that's cool. I like knowing about these different things that I didn't know about before. I'm gonna have to look up Convoy management. I will never run. Did I look that up right? Convoy management. Yeah, I will never do a paid thing to let people use my hardware. We've been having crazy. For a while, we were having power outages like every day. Like there's something weird going on in the area, and we were having these huge power outages every day. That's how I lost a hard drive. I was super frustrated, but yeah, I don't have the ability. I don't have the comfort to rent out my hardware. So I probably won't ever do that. But it's still cool to know about it. Convoy management, virtualizer. Huh. Yeah, I'm not finding anything on Proxmox. Convoy panel. Okay, there we go. Huh. Look, I may check it out. I may absolutely check it out. But personal license in a production environment without any monetary gain. Enterprise license is only $6 per node per month. You know, that's actually not bad. Like, you could absolutely charge more than that for something and have like one person cover your license fee. So that's pretty cool. Sorry, I'm not showing you guys because I'm really bad at what I do here. One of these days I'll do better. I can't promise when, but one of these days I'll do better. But let's see here. Experience modern, beautiful server management. Yeah, code's open on GitHub. They've got a demo. Let's look at it together because I'm curious. We'll log in as an admin. Yeah, I understand that. Admin demo. Let's see. Huh. Well, that's settings. That's general hardware. Man, they don't. They sure don't give you a lot in the demo there, and that's fine. But just wanted to kind of check it out. Looks like they've also got a backup server thing going here. Huh, that's interesting. Sign out. Make sure. Oops, that's anyway. Anywho, just wanted to kind of take a quick look at that. So yeah, a little behind there. Go over to there. There we go. So, yeah. So that's pretty neat. Holy crap! Sorry, let's close that. So, how's everybody doing? Like, you have anybody have anything exciting going on this weekend other than like watching my dumb face? Because like sometimes I like to live vicariously through you guys. Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, thanks, Armor. I appreciate that. Virtualizer also has a demo. Let's Proxmox. Is it this one? Virtualizer. Let's see. We're gonna do this. All right. Let's go back to here. There we go. Okay. The most powerful cloud panel. It's a powerful web-based VPS control panel using which a user can deploy and manage VPS on servers with a single click. Supports KVM, Zen, OpenVZ, Proxmox, Virtuoso, LXC, etc. with an inbuilt hourly billing system. Huh. Interesting. Okay, so they've also got WHMCS. OS templates, I dig that. High availability. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I've never actually seen, never seen anything quite like that. Oh, it was all of this. Huh. Yeah, I've never heard of a lot of the stuff that they're talking about in here. And it's not to say that it's not good. It's just I've been out of the hosting arena for so long, that I don't even know kind of what's going on with most of it anymore. Um, trying to work out why my SAS HBA won't load my ZFS pool. Man, I've never actually used anything SAS before, so I'm not able to help you with that, unfortunately. Um, Dean Bernie says automate some of my side hustle to make it a little more efficient, hopefully organize my life better without having to spend a whack of money on software. That's fair. It says it's basically Proxmox with a good UI. Armor says I recently got a little N100 machine off of AliExpress, which I'm going to migrate my PF since Pi-hole instance to tomorrow. That's cool. Yeah, do those so the N100 chips are actually pretty good for some good lightweight work. Um, in fact, I used. I don't even know if you can see. You can't see. Hold on. Let me do this real quick. Let me do this real quick. Man, do that. I mean, are we still doing stuff here? It's loading. We're gonna give this a second. There we go. Sorry. Up there. If I could figure out. There we go. Yeah, up there. I've got all kinds of hardware that I'm not using anymore, and several of those are N100 systems, because N100 is a great system if you're just doing light work. They're low power. They let you do all kinds of really cool stuff. Wow, you used an N100 for running Windows 11. That would drive me insane. I don't know if I could do that. Like again, they're good for like Docker containers, and they're good for like an AdGuard VM. But from my experience anyway, pushing them much harder than that, and they start to get hot and they start to throttle a little bit. So yeah, I think they're great for certain things. But in fact, I've got one right here, like this. I don't know if you guys caught my video on the K100, but it had a lot of potential. I just think they should have used a different, like an i3 or something in it to have some more PCI lanes, just because the saturating the PCI lanes in that CPU was way too easy. So it would have been neat if they'd used like an i3 or something. I think it still could have been a fairly inexpensive device. This was kind of expensive at like $400, but I think they could have done more with the same budget if they'd used like an i3 or something. Even if it was a mobile i3, I think it would have had more PCI lanes and been a bit more performant when it was being asked to read and write data off of the SSDs in it. So. But I am just, it's only been fairly recently that I've started getting into hardware reviews, consistent hardware reviews anyway. And so there's still a lot of things that I forget to take into consideration with different things, learning and memorizing different hardwares and CPUs and what they've got available to them. Like I'm a long way from being like a Linus or a J. But yeah, so still getting familiar with the kind of the workflow, the pattern to making sure that I get good hardware reviews. So I could be completely off base about the N100 entirely. So let's see what else. Give me just a second here. No, that's not what I meant to do at all. What's this? I don't care. Sorry, just looking at some stuff here, making sure everything there looks good. That's fine. Dimitri, how's it going? Glad to see you here. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. I it's been a couple of months since we've done a live stream, so I'm still kind of getting back into the swing of things, and trying to remember to look at all of the places all over, um, to make sure I'm not missing anything. Have anything over here? Nobody there. All right. So yeah, no, really, I just wanted to take a few minutes and kind of bring you guys along for the ride while I messed with the Lincoln Link ISG Deluxe or whatever it's called, Max. The ISG Max are the boxes under my desk over here. And while I got that cleaned up so that I could do some more testing with it, one of the nice things about this ISG Max, in fact, if I come back over to here, let's turn that off. Yeah, so if we like, one of the cool things about this device specifically, besides it having a Home Assistant server built into it that you can use, or being able to attach to other existing Home Assistant servers, is that it's actually got Zigbee or Z-Wave. Dang it, I don't remember which one it is. ZHA. Oops, where did it go? Firmware, Home Assistant, HomeKit. Darn it, I remember where it went. Let's go to devices. Let's do add. We can do it from up here. Let's take a look. Zigbee. So it does Wi-Fi, Zigbee, Matter, Home Assistant, and webcam, which I'm not sure about that one. But I've been using Home Assistant. Like I said, it's got a Zigbee radio built into it, and so those are the two that I would probably use the most. But I had to come in and clean a bunch of stuff out, so that I could kind of start over by adding some new devices. And I got some a third reality Zigbee power plugs or smart plugs or whatever, and they're really neat. I was messing with them a little bit last night, and it gives me a chance to do some other testing. Let me do this. Oh, you know what? I need to be better at what I'm doing here. If I come over to home, make sure there's nothing there. There we go. And then, sorry, I'm all over the place here. So like this is kind of like the power usage for the device currently. I'm not sure what's going on there. Yes, I am. This is it's doing its it's running Plex. The ZimaQ is currently running Plex, and it's doing some background tasks that I set to go from like 11:30 to 5 or something. I don't remember what, but the third wave smart plugs have power graphing in them, so I can see in real time how much power the device plugged into them is using. That's what I was trying to get to with that. So the reason I even bring that up is because I want to figure out how to get them to work directly with this without using a third-party interface or whatever, like the dongle. Like the dongle that I've got hooked up back here. In fact, I think you can see it right there. That's a Zigbee Z-Wave dongle back there. And I'd like to be able to just bypass that entirely and use the Lincoln Link device over here. So let's see. Paul Harding says, thanks for the hoarder video. I built and used local llama on my Unraid. Works great. That's really cool. I completely missed the part where you could use your own self-hosted AI with that. In fact, I'm going to do a couple of AI videos here in the near future. In fact, I went through recently and put my 2070, my RTX 2070 on the HL15 back there. I had a P2000 in it for a while, but it was slow. It only had 5 gigs of RAM, and you can't load a library bigger than the memory on the GPU. So I was really limited with what I could do with it. So I put the 2070 back in there. And then I got the ZimaCube that, again, I'm about ready to do my review on, but I'm waiting for the cooling solution to get here Monday. But the ZimaCube is going to be my Plex server moving forward, and then the VM that's got the 2070 in it will be my AI setup. So yeah, I'm always moving stuff around here. So one of these days I'm going to start doing some AI videos is what I was trying to get to with that. And I wish I had paid attention to that better before I made the video with the claim of only being able to use OpenAI. I screwed that up. Luckily, the Hoarder developer was in the comments letting people know that you could actually use a self-hosted AI on that. Let's see. Jordan T2 says I replaced my 12th gen i7 machine with a Ugreen 68 Pro. It's now my primary Proxmox machine and Plex server. It's excellent for hardware transcoding. I believe that. I do. So Ugreen actually reached out to me about reviewing one of those devices. And then there was some communication issues, I think, on both sides, if I'm being honest. And I ended up not doing the NAS review. And I don't know, like my headspace, I wasn't in a good headspace when that came out. So I'm kind of glad we didn't work together. I wouldn't want to soil that relationship. But they did reach out to me recently about doing an ad spot for some of their stuff. So hopefully here in a little bit, I'll be getting a couple of their hardware pieces to do some ads, a couple of ad spots in. But no, some of these NAS devices are getting pretty amazing with what they can do. Sorry, I think I'm being invaded by squirrels. And that's not a euphemism. Like my wife and I feed the squirrels, and if they see us like inside the door, they will come up through into the house sometimes to get peanuts. We live in a weird time in our lives. But I've got squirrels out here like eyeballing me like, hey, where are my peanuts? But anyway, yeah. So like the TerraMaster that I've got up here on this top rack, it was great for transcoding. Like I was super impressed with that. I think it's got an i5 in it though. Maybe it's got an i7. I don't remember. But yeah. So I'm super impressed with what they're doing with NAS devices now. Because like the first one I got was the DS1621XS Plus from Synology, and it had a Xeon processor in it. I say it does, and it's a beast, but it didn't do well with transcoding. And then some of the others that I've got like up on my shelf up here were all like N100 or N59 or 5059s or 5095s, sorry. And they did okay for like one or two streams, but beyond that, they were garbage for transcoding. Great for NASA's because that's what they were, but when it actually came to transcoding, they weren't great for that. But yeah, the TerraMaster F4 424 Max I've got over here was a transcoding beast. So yeah, you also said get one. I will probably wait for the next generation. Hopefully I'll still be in a good headspace to be able to do that. And hopefully they will give me an opportunity to review it. And it says, you're also looking pretty trim now. Thank you. Yeah, that was a thing. So okay, I'm gonna take a sentimental moment for myself here for just a second. I'm not looking for sympathy. I want to be very clear about this. I've come to terms with everything I'm about to say here. I'm good with all of it, right? So growing up, I grew up mostly in a very poor environment where we were like government cheese and that kind of stuff. Like I got free coats from the Salvation Army. We were so poor when I was growing up. So there was a lot of food scarcity in my house in my childhood for a long time. And it was inconsistent food scarcity. So since then, I've had a bad relationship with food. Like if there's food in the house, I have to be eating because I don't know the next time we're going to have food. That hasn't been an issue in a really, really long time, but my brain is slow sometimes, and I still resort to bad habits based on childhood trauma, right? So that was a big part of what I had to come to terms with, and I started coming to terms with it like late last year. But then, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you'll know that I was sick. I spent basically all of January in the hospital, and even spending almost an entire month in the hospital wasn't my longest hospital stay, so that's fun. But when I got out of I was hospitalized in January for pneumonia. Well, initially it was for pneumonia. My oxygen saturation was like low 80s, which is dangerous. So they put me in the hospital, and while I was there, I was talking to the pulmonologist I've actually had the same pulmonologist for 8 years because of 2016, where I spent like almost 6 months in the hospital, like all in one stretch, no going home in between. So anyway, I was talking to my pulmonologist and I was like, hey, like before I got here, like I was having these weird leg pains and I was having this weird, like, I was feeling weird these different ways. And he's like, cool, let's get you in for some imaging. And after a couple of attempts, they did some more imaging of my lungs and my leg, which I know sounds weird from a pulmonologist perspective, but the reason that I was having some of the pain I was having and some of the symptoms I was having is because I had deep vein thrombosis, which is blood clots in my left leg, and I had bilateral pulmonary embolisms, which means both of my lungs were just full of blood clots as well. And that's why my leg hurt. That's why my oxygen saturation was garbage. But I had that, and then I got pneumonia on top of it. So I had those two things actively working against me, basically trying to kill me. And that's not really me being overly dramatic. Both of those things are deadly when you've got all of the medical stuff I've got going on. In fact, pulmonary embolisms and DVT can be to anybody. But I digress. But while I was there dealing with pneumonia, bilateral pulmonary embolisms, and DVT, I got COVID while I was at the hospital. So I had like all of this stuff working against me for like a week. I was on 40 liters of oxygen. And because it was the second time I had to deal with blood clots, now I'm just on blood thinners for the rest of my life. They've got me on, well, it used to be called Coumadin, now it's called warfarin. But because of that, I have to go in every couple of months and see my hematologist. But because I'm on the blood thinners, I'm also on a special diet. But I'm also on a special diet for my kidneys. I'm also on a special diet for my pre-diabetic condition, and I'm also on a special diet for the history of congestive heart failure. That one not as much as the others, but like I'm on 3 custom diets that all contradict each other. So I've just been kind of saying, screw it. I'm going to do what makes me feel the best, taking those other things into account, while also dealing with my weird connection or my troubled connection to food in the past. I've just been kind of working on something that works for me. And it's not the right solution for everybody, but I found something that works for me. And by doing that, after I started feeling better, because like my January hospitalization, it wasn't until like July. Like I was out of the hospital first part of February, end of January, first part of February, but it wasn't until like July where I actually started feeling better. But then I was able to start dealing with some of my emotional stuff, my mental stuff, and kind of coming up with a plan of attack for that. And all of that is to say that's how I've lost about 20 pounds this year. It's not a huge amount. It could have been more, but the reality is I'm still very, very lazy, and I don't get enough physical activity. But by switching up what I eat, when I eat, and kind of adjusting my attitude towards food, I was able to just drop 20 pounds over the course of about 3 or 4 months. So thanks, Jordan T2. I appreciate your acknowledgement there. Let's see. Paul Harding says, did you see the new Meta AI local model video release from yesterday? I did not. I would love to get a 4090, but I'm still on the 2070 money here. So I picked up a 2070 for the HL15 a few months ago for like $200. And that's kind of my comfort zone with spending money on hardware. So let's see. Dimitri said, just came by to say thanks. Started my Proxmox lab two years ago watching your videos. That's cool. Thank you. I'm really glad that they helped. Rajdeep, no, I can't. I need you to chill, dude. I need you to not. Like, I will get to your question if I get to your question, but posting it 3 times isn't going to get you anywhere good here, man. Asking me a question like that puts my channel in jeopardy. I've actually received community guideline strikes for talking about that stuff in my videos, so I will not be covering any of that on YouTube. That said, you might be able to find some of my content on Rumble. I feel dirty even saying that, but I don't remember which content I uploaded there. Also, I've got some content over on Patreon that covers some of that you'd be able to extrapolate from there. But please don't overly post your same question over and over and over again. I'll get to it. So anyway, Allison Bell says, I've dropped 20 pounds before now, but being British, it's a slightly different issue. um, let's see. Oh, thank you, Paul, for the contribution to the 4090 fund. I appreciate that. Here's the thing though, is that my wife and I are both still running AMD Ryzen 5 2600s with 32 gigs of RAM each and 2070s. So the CPU would definitely be a bottleneck for a Ryzen 5 2600, or for a 4090. The Ryzen 5 would be a bottleneck for the 4090. Anyway, but no, I super appreciate that. That's awesome of you. Thank you. Um, Allison, I didn't mean to like jump off what you had said there. I'm guessing you meant like pounds in currency, as far as that's concerned. But yeah, I've been I've been through London twice. Well, I take that back. I've technically been through London 4 times, but it was to stop at Heathrow on my way to. I can't think of the one in Edinburgh that I landed at. But yeah, I've been through Heathrow to and from twice. So yeah, the 2600 is a bit on the old side. It's from like 2019. I believe. I think that's when I did my update. My last actual big PC update was 2019. But yeah, it is a bit on the old side. But an upgrade to a 5000 series, I don't know. See, and this is, I was kind of talking about this earlier. Like, my wife and I both have B450 motherboards, and I don't know. I haven't done enough research to figure out which CPUs would be a good upgrade, but still be B450 compatible. Without having to just do a complete overhaul of both of our systems entirely. Because again, unfortunately, as much as I love making YouTube videos and sharing content like this and that sort of thing, the summer months of YouTube are absolute trash for revenue through YouTube. It's starting to pick back up now that we're getting back into the holiday season. But then also during this whole first half of the year was screwed for me. My mental health was bad. My physical health was bad. And I didn't have advertisers reaching out to advertise as often. That has also started to change again. So my revenue is picking back up, but then we're getting into the holiday season. It's a weird ebb and flow. And I'm hoping that will start to balance out with the new year coming up. This has been kind of a rough year financially. Like, we've always made our bills. We've never had an issue with that, but the extras, like the hardware that I review, I only review because companies send it to me, not because I'm able to afford hardly any of it. So yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, no, I may look at some CPU upgrades, and some BIOS updates or something. Maybe I can bring us up a few generations without breaking the bank. So definitely I will consider that. Jordan T, thank you for the donation. Super appreciate that. That's really kind of you. The B450 run anything with the right BIOS update. I run an R7 5800 X3D on an X470. Okay, so I mean, like, that's good to know. I don't currently have anything that runs PCI 4.0 anyway, so not a huge loss. But that would give me more upgrade paths for GPUs and stuff, I suppose, as well. I grew up on assistance too, but went to college for software engineering, got married to a professional woman. Now we're doing pretty well. Dude, Jordan, that's amazing. That's really cool. I graduated in 99. I went to ITT Tech, for about a year, and then realized they weren't teaching me anything that I couldn't teach myself. I've always been a bit of an autodidact. I like learning what I want to learn, when I want to learn it, how I want to learn it. And they weren't satiating that learning need for me. So I left that. It was a whole thing, but for years I did really well for myself. Was self-employed, I ran my own business, sold my own business. Then I went to work for another company that had bought out my company, later on, because it was something to do. So I always did really well for myself until 2016 when I got really sick. And I've been slowly kind of building back up and doing better, but then getting sick again this year set me back a bit. And again, we're on that upslope again, and I hope I can keep going that way for a while. So And that's what I've been trying to do, Paul, is just kind of grind on the tube, as you put it. Like I said, I really like making content. And lately my views have been way up compared to where they were for a long time. And I know that there's a trade-off there. Like my mental health was bad, so that was coming through my videos, and it was kind of circling the toilet for a while. But yeah, my videos have been picking up, and that's been putting me in a better mood. So my videos have been better, and it's been a very circular thing on the upward trajectory for the last little bit. And I've been, and it's been growing. It's just I had a real big slump earlier this year through, like I said, July or August, because of my mental health, my physical health, and all that. So feeling better, doing better, making better content, I think. Still messing things up from time to time. Still trying to own that because I am human, and I'm going to make mistakes, and I don't want people to think that I just nail it every time, because I absolutely don't. So yeah, I've been trying to keep the content coming, and that sort of thing. So, excuse me. Jordan says, I miss those old Chromebook days. Man, I kind of do too, if I'm being honest. But I miss it for a couple of reasons. One, the money was better. Like genuinely, the money on the Chromebook stuff was better, because those videos were geared towards a less tech savvy audience who didn't use ad blockers. And I know that that's a selfish thing to say, but it's the truth. Like my RPMs, my CPMs and my RPMs for my payments were like 2 to 3 times what they are for the Docker stuff. So I kind of miss that. But on the flip side, man, the comments that I would get, like, well, you need to do a review on this device. And it's like, oh, that's an $1,100 Chromebook. Like I'm not going to review that device unless you're going to send me one. So no, there were definitely pros and cons to doing some of that, or, like here's how to install, a different operating system on your Chromebook. And I would say, like, look, all of the information you need is in the video description. It's like, I'm not going to tell you if your Chromebook is compatible with this, because there's a billion different Chromebooks. And I still now, years later, get people saying, will this work on this random string of characters that is a Chromebook, model number. And it's just like, dude, I don't even answer those comments anymore when people ask me those questions. I don't have the wherewithal to not pull my hair out. Sup? Sorry, wife's over here asking me something.
Sorry, just heads up. Gabe's going to be coming through in a minute for the pool with a fidget in hand.
Okay.
We shall discuss later.
All right, fair enough. Cool. Sounds good. Is the bedroom window closed?
It will be.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. She was letting me know that the kid's going to come through here in a minute, and he's been having an issue. Because he's got severe autism, he's constantly fidgeting. And he's had some fidgets that he's lost permission to have for a couple of months now. She was letting me know that he's coming through to play in the water, which is crazy to me, but he's also got a fidget. So she wanted to let me know, so I didn't try to stop him and take it on the way out. So, but yeah, ad revenue should improve. Google's cracking down. Yeah, you'd think. The problem is that a lot of people are using third-party services now, or third-party, whether it's self-hosted or through other services. Hey, dude, to download videos to watch them without the ads. People are finding ways around some of that. But again, there's a seasonal ebb and flow to YouTube revenue based on what time of year it is, the advertising dollars going out. There's a lot of different things to factor in. And here's the thing, like last year and the year before were great. The summer months didn't affect me because I had a sponsor that paid very well. But I decided not to continue with them for a few different reasons. But that's neither here nor there. But they were paying me very, very well for a couple of dedicated videos and a couple of ad spots a month. And then doing like one video a month on their channel. They paid very well for that, but I couldn't in good conscience make myself want to keep working with them. But anyway, Don't answer if it's too personal, but do any of your family members use any of your home lab stuff like Plex or Vault Warden? My wife does. In fact, Vault Warden was one of the, well, it was, I don't remember what it was called back then. Bitwarden, I think is what it was called back then, was Bitwarden. Anyway, I know Vault Warden used to be called something else. And like my wife was one of the people who would always use the same password for absolutely everything. Bank accounts, Facebook, whatever, right? Same password across the board. And I was like, no, we're not going to do that. So I got her convinced to use LastPass, and then of course there's all of the LastPass breaches that kept happening over and over and over again. And then they're like, oh well, if you want to use this on more than one device, now you got to pay us. And I was like, well, then we're out. Like we're not going to pay to use a password manager on one or like on two devices, like a PC and a phone. Like that's ridiculous. We're not going to do that. So I set up whatever Vault Warden used to be back in its first iteration until they were asked to stop using that name. But Bitwarden RS, there you go. Thank you. Yeah. So we used that for a while, and luckily I was able to export everything from LastPass into Bitwarden RS, and then we could have it on as many devices as we wanted, and I've been using it since, and we've both been using it since then. Even switching over to Vault Warden was very painless, and she's been using it. She actually likes Vault Warden or even Bitwarden RS. She liked either of those instances better than LastPass. So we've been using that. I have in the past had or given other people access to my Plex server, but yeah. So it's that's really about it. Like our kids live next door. In fact, they have access to my internet if they want it. So like if they use it, great. If not, it's not a big deal. And they don't. They're in their early 20s, still like 24-ish. 24 this year. And they're not much as far as like watching movies and things like that. They're very much YouTube, TikTok is their main source of entertainment. So they have access to the server, but they don't use it all that much. So, but no, that's really about it. Like just them with regards to using some of this stuff. Well, I say that, as far as like some of the actual in-house services, the private services, that's about it. But like DB Tech Reviews, like a lot of the different services that I've got listed, like in my bio for resources to access, supplementals, whether it's Docker Compose or whether it's, dbtechreviews.com or DB Tech that I built on Bookstack or Video Vote, all of that is actually hosted on this hardware back here as well. In a Proxmox, each service has its own separate Proxmox LXC. They're all unprivileged, so chill. But yeah, no, they're all running their own separate unprivileged Proxmox LXCs, one per service. So that if anything goes wrong, I can shut it down very, very quickly and easily. But that's really about it as far as other people using my services. Collins, yay! Collins is here. That's great. Really, really glad to see you here. Can I? Managing moderator. There we go. Cool. James Collins is now a moderator. I've been meaning to do that for a long time, but now Collins is a moderator. So there you go. He's also a moderator on my Discord server. So if you want to check that out, link should be in my bio or down below this video. Jordan T says I'm still using Vault Warden. That's bonkers. You should fix that. Partly all I ask is I watch Network Chuck, and he always talks about he gives his kids access to stuff like Chasm and Open Web UI. Look, so I don't like to watch Network Chuck videos, and I'm not going to get into why. Excuse me. I don't watch his content much anymore. Anyway, because our kid is severely autistic, his fine motor skills aren't great. His gross motor skills, kid's got the balance of the best I've ever seen anywhere from anybody, basically. But his fine motor skills, like using a remote control for a TV, super limited. So I'm actually working on putting together a custom Home Assistant dashboard specifically for him. In fact, I might even be able to show you a demo of it. Yeah, I think I can actually. Let me pull this out and let me move this over to here. Let me do this. So then let me switch my bottom screen. There we go. So basically, I would get like a small tablet or something that I could hang on his wall, right? And this would allow him to turn his own bedroom light on and off. We've got it with smart bulbs. We used to have a light switch in his room, but he would just go in there and just flick. You know, let me, hold on. I swear, one of these days, man, I'm going to have this set up in such a way that I don't look like a total noob while doing this. Video capture device, G7, yeah, there we go. I swear, one of these days. Oops, darn it, I do that every time. I always grab the wrong thing there. G7, there we go. All right, cool. So we used to have a light switch in his room so he could turn his light on and off. There's no overhead lights in our houses here in Colorado for some reason. So they've got a light switch or a plug in the wall right below the light switch that's supposed to be for a lamp. But he would go in and just flick that light switch all day long, and I got really tired of that. So I blocked it off. Anyway, I blocked off that light switch safely, carefully, so it's not causing any issues in the wall. But now I've got a lamp with a smart bulb in his room. So the idea here is that if I were to put a tablet in kiosk mode that just let him have Home Assistant, right, and only gave him access with his user account to this one page, then he would be able to toggle his light on and off, and he'd be able to come into here, and click here, and then go to Browse Media, and select the server, and then he could go in. And I know this seems like a lot of steps to get in and like select a movie or select a TV show or whatever, but he's got an what's called an AAC device, which is just for us is just an Android phone with an app on it that allows him to tell us what he needs and what he wants by just touching buttons on the screen. So even though this is like 5 layers deep to be able to do those things, he is so good with his AAC device. I think that within a couple of days he could have this down without any issues. So I would be adding him to be able to use Home Assistant on a device, but that's, I think, is about as far as I would let him go with something like that. I don't know that he needs much more than that with regards to access to the network, to any of the apps here on the network. So yeah, that's that. Hopefully that answers the question. Hold on. Maybe still using Vault Warden. You know what? Jordan T, I apologize. I thought you were using Vault Warden RS. I read it wrong. I use Vault Warden and I love it. So I apologize for throwing out fighting words there. We're on the same page. I'm just an idiot sometimes. So Andrew Shade, I think, or Sade, I don't know. Andrew, hi, how are you? Glad you're here. But yeah, so so as far as giving the kid access to it, it would just be that dashboard for right now, because there's really nothing else he would need to have access to other than the ability to go in and select his own shows and turn his own light on and off. But beyond that, no, there's nothing else he would need to have access to on any of our self-hosted stuff. Just Plex and a little bit of Home Assistant. So hopefully that answers your question. But I misread your question because I'm having one of those days, I don't know if you can hear him. He's out there jumping on the trampoline, just having a grand old time out there. I may have to close the door if he keeps getting any louder, though. That's what I've got going on there. Like I said, I've got some more hardware videos coming. I've definitely got some more software, or some more like Docker container style videos coming. People have made suggestions on some different things they'd like to see content on. Sorry, I'm reading comments and I'm sidetracking myself. But yeah, so I've got people have asked me to do stuff like Cosmos, like the Cosmos platform for Docker, and I've looked at it. I don't know if I like it. I may have to dig more into it to see if I actually dislike it or not. Oh, there's a cat behind me. There's a cat behind me over there. That's Smudgy. Back there, the cat on the thing there. She's hold on. There we go. She's a weird cat. She's been through some traumatic stuff and whatnot. But Jordan T, you're absolutely right. That was a particular cloud computing platform who got bought out by another company, and then things changed. Things changed a lot, and it made me not want to continue with the changes. So they were cool about letting me out of my deal and whatnot. It worked out okay, but I just didn't want to. I didn't want to keep associating my name with theirs. So, what are the harms of port forwarding via public IP? I'm using traffic, but for I need open source port for one server. I'm continuing. So the harms of port forwarding via a public IP address. Look, if you're using traffic, you should only have ports 80 and 443 open, because that's all traffic needs. If you're opening any other ports other than 80 and 443, that's a problem. You can mitigate some of that by putting a firewall in place, whether that's a physical firewall or a software firewall. There, and yeah, people actually very often will spin up an inexpensive like $5 a month droplet at like DigitalOcean or any of the other platforms out there like them, and then only allow inbound traffic from that droplet's IP address. That's absolutely a way that you can do that. I use Cloudflare tunnels for all of my remote access stuff. So anytime you guys go to one of the services I have on my server rack back here, you're accessing that through Cloudflare. It's got DDoS protection into it. It's got IP obfuscation through there. So that's why I do it. It's mostly for the IP obfuscation. So to take that a step farther, Andrew, let's say you've got, like WordPress.andrewsite.com, and you've just got your subdomain, like your subdomain's A record pointed to your home's IP address, right? Which is, I used to do that. I did that for a couple of years. The problem with doing that is that if somebody pings, like WP or WordPress.andrewsite.com, they're going to find your home's IP address, right? Which is fine. It's harder to find out where somebody lives by looking up an IP address or whatever these days, but they can DDoS you if they want to, and they can take your entire network offline or make it so you can't access the internet. There's a lot of things that people can still do if they know your IP address. So that's why a lot of people are opening up, say ports 80 and 443, but only allowing traffic from a droplet or only allowing Cloudflare traffic to come in. You don't have to port forward with that, but there's a lot of reasons that having your public IP address available is still kind of a bad idea. They can't necessarily find out where you live as easily, but they can still wreak havoc on your ability to connect to the internet. So there's that. Ben, dude, glad to see you here. Thank you for stopping by. Ben also does content similar to mine as far as Docker containers and that sort of thing. So definitely, if you're not familiar with this channel, go check him out. That'd be cool. Let's see. Spectacular Austin said, you actually introduced me to Cloudflare tunnels. I don't know what I do without it. Other than VPN into my own network, I don't open any ports for anyone. Yeah, same. I used to have 80 and 443 open. There was one other that I had open for a while for something else, besides having a game server open for my brother-in-law. But yeah, I've been using Cloudflare tunnels forever because I don't want ports forward or ports open on my network. Let's see. I prefer a VPN to access internal services, and that's perfectly acceptable. I know a lot of people like to do it that way. You could open up whatever VPN port you pick, and depending on what self-hosted VPN setup you've got going. Are you fine? What's up?
Situation back there.
It should be fine. Give me 1 second, guys.
Using the back door.
Hold on, that's fine. Yeah, no, when I filled up the pool again the other day, I switched it back so that it was fine.
Sorry, he just
No.
taken me out. I apologize.
No, he's fine. Kid's just being weird out in the pool, or out by the pool rather. It's a big above ground pool we bought a couple of years ago that he still thinks that he wants to play in, even though it's really cold out there. Let's see. We were talking about VPN access. Perfectly acceptable way to do it. You can just open a random port and set your VPN to just use that port. Perfectly acceptable to do that as well. Jordan says that he's actively hacking Andrew's network. That's funny. Craig McIntosh, thank you for being a subscriber. Really appreciate that. Thanks for stopping by. Oh, he's gonna drive me nuts today. Starting on my homeland journey. Yeah, that's cool. I hope, Craig. I hope everything works out for you. If you've got questions, we've got a Discord server. Now that the weather is cooled off and my mental health is better, I'm gonna try to do more live streams. So definitely jump on live streams. The Discord channel again is a great way to get help. Ben says I do that for several sites that I host. Basically, I route the traffic to a hosted Nginx proxy manager, then forward that traffic to my IP. Yep, perfectly acceptable way to do that. Zach Effect says looking better. I haven't been around for a while. Thanks. We kind of talked about it earlier. I was dealing with some mental and physical health issues, and I dropped 20 pounds when I realized what was going on. No, buddy. All right, there we go. We should be good now. He was back there messing with the hose that's got the sprinkler on his trampoline, but he was trying to fill the pool instead of turning on the... Anyway, it should be good to go now. Let's see. So anyway, yeah, I dropped about 20 pounds. I still got like 50 more to go. But it was a mental health issue and a physical health issue and all kinds of stuff. But thank you for noticing. I do appreciate it. Let's see, Craig says 55 years old. I've got a Bachelor of Engineering degree in computing and have been using computers since the year after I was born. That's cool. Ben, you're welcome. Raps Calorie says the DB Discord introduced me to tunnels. I got new hardware and started experimenting with Proxmox. I now have a VM with 80 and 443 open for whatever it needs. Fired off from the rest of your network. Perfect. That sounds great. Everything else I access via VPN tunnel now. That's perfect, man. I purchased an Asustar locker store. Dang, that's impressive. I think if I added up all of my different stuff back here, I'd have about that much storage, but it's across a few different devices there. Let's see. It's recommended to use a reverse proxy tunneling. No, Sven, you do not need to. You do not need to use a reverse proxy if you're using Cloudflare tunnels. Cloudflare tunnel is its own reverse proxy. So yeah, you don't need to do like Nginx proxy manager. You don't need to do traffic or caddy or whatever. You can, like, I know of people that do, but it's an extra step that you just don't need. Tunnels has firewalls built in. It's got DDoS protection built in. It's got you can have different rules set up. It's got all of that even on the free level. And technically, yes, they could man in the middle you. And see what you're doing, but I've been using them exclusively for years now. And I should back up. Like, I use Cloudflare tunnels for access to all of my stuff here. However, before that, I used, like, when I was doing hosting for other people, it was a requirement that if they wanted me to host their stuff, they had to use Cloudflare DNS because it obfuscated the IP address of my server. So if somebody pinged, whatever.whoever.com, it showed a Cloudflare IP address, not my server IP address. And it was a requirement. If you wanted me to host your stuff, you had to use Cloudflare tunnels or Cloudflare as your DNS provider for that reason alone. So I've been using Cloudflare in some capacity for more than a decade. And look, not everything I've ever ran through them was 100% legit. I'm not going to go into any more detail than that, but they've never said a word to me. I've paid them a few different times for a few different things, but their free plan is amazing. So yeah. So let me go back up. I'm missing some stuff. I'm looking to get a mini PC. Looking at a mini Forum 01. I did not review it. I would love. So I've actually. It's funny. Um, this is a minis Forum HX90 that I did or that I used for some sponsored content a couple of years ago, and it's a great machine. In fact, I'm getting ready to send that off to somebody who needs a new computer. I would love for Minis Forum to hook me up with an MSO1 to take a look at, because it's a beast. But I've reached out to them and they ignore me. So, it is what it is. I've given them money. They've got great hardware, and that's all I can say about it at this point. Looking to run various self-hosted apps instead of paying for cloud apps. Yeah, man, that's what self-hosting is all about. There's a dozen or more different ways you can access them remotely. Let's see. 5AOEYT says, is it a good idea to have two Wi-Fi networks, one for family members and one for guests, for computers and dedicated Wi-Fi just for self-hosted? Yeah, absolutely. So I technically at the moment have 3 Wi-Fi networks set up. I've got one for like me and the wife and the kid, for our mobile devices, for our TVs, for our tablets, for whatever we need to have Wi-Fi for our specific things. I've also got one for IoT, which I'm really bad about using, but I'm getting ready to try something different for my network, so that may change. But I've also got one specifically for my guests. And I've got like QR codes up so people can just like take a picture of it and it'll connect. So yeah, I try to do like all of my IoT devices have their own network, though I don't use it that way because I suck. Some stuff is on it, some stuff isn't. Eventually I'll consolidate things properly. But then I've got one for the actual rest of the hardware, and then I've got another one specifically for guests. So absolutely, it's very good to segregate some of that stuff. In fact, I would even, if you got the option, I would even go so far as to put, I would set those up on like different VLANs, so that if somebody's on your guest Wi-Fi, they can't hop over to your main network if you don't want them to. So there's a lot of different ways you can do that. Crick says, love your series on apps you use. Thanks. Here's the thing, right? And I'm actually glad you worded it exactly like you did. There are 95% of the apps I review I never use. Periodically, I will run into one that I will absolutely use, but even if it's an app I really like and I really think it's great, and I don't use them. And it's because I've got things set up a certain way in my house, and if I try to change things too much, it will cause chaos. I ran into some issues like with Home Assistant recently that drove my wife nuts. And I love my wife. We've been together 11 years. We've known each other for 30. But she's not tech savvy. Like, she can get around, she can do a few things here and there, and she's getting better. But if something goes wrong or changes too drastically, she's not going to know what happened. So I don't, most of the stuff that I talk about, that I make videos about, most of it never gets, it gets a video made about it, and then that LXC gets destroyed and I move on. But that's not to say that there aren't a lot of really cool, really, really amazing apps out there. I just don't use most of them. Let's see. Yep. See, ZachFX says, notice the weight loss in your face. Great job. Thank you. Really appreciate that. It really does feel good. Going back to even videos earlier this year, I'm like, wow, I think I acknowledged that there was an issue, like when I had to get on the scale at the doctor's office. And I've still got a long way to go. Like I said, the last time I got on the scale, I was at 240. I was more than 20 pounds over that a few months ago. So I'd like to get down to like 200. Obviously because of an antiquated system that we still use in this country for some stupid reason. The body mass index that is garbage. And it's the one that was developed in like the 1700s by a Frenchman who never intended for us to use it the way we are. Anyway, like when I got out of the hospital in 16, I was at like 175, 180, and I didn't like how I looked. I looked sick. But that frame, that the way I looked sick, even when I wasn't. So I want to get down to like 200. I'd be happy with like 190, but 200 I'll be good with. So I've still got about another 40 pounds to go. So, yeah, and here's the thing, like, because the 20 pounds I dropped was just by changing my diet. Like what I ate, when I ate, those sorts of things. I just changed all of that. I don't work out. Like the wife and I will go for walks and do different things here and there, but it was too hot, to deal with that. Like I've got lung problems, I've got kidney problems, I've got heart problems, I've got all of these medical conditions, right? And some of that is me making excuses, 100%. My wife also has asthma, and both the extreme heat and extreme cold can exacerbate those issues. And it's starting to finally cool down. And we actually talked about, I think yesterday or the day before, about starting to go walk around the lake, Prospect Lake, which is fairly near us. It's got a nice like 1.5-mile path around it that's easy to walk. So we've talked about getting back into doing that now that the temperatures have chilled out a bit. So that's the plan. Ben, thank you. Thank you for the gifting. Really, really appreciate that. That's amazing. And Collins, dude, look at you guys go. Thank you so much, guys. That's super, super kind of you. Thank you. Let's see, we talked about the redundancy of using a reverse proxy with Cloudflare tunnels. We all agree on that now. Ben says that I've introduced him to so much great software. I'm really glad to hear that. And hopefully you can pick up some of the spots that I missed in some of my videos, and do a better job than I've done in some of them. Absolutely. Easiest way to get multiple Wi-Fi SSDs are Unify or Omada. 100% agree with that. I was on Unify for a while. A buddy of mine, like that I went to high school with, we reconnected on Twitter or something a few years ago, and we were talking about networking and that sort of stuff. And he's like, "Hey, I've got a bunch of Unify stuff I'm not using if you want it." So he sent it to me. And then I used it for a while, and I bought some different stuff and upgraded some things. And then I got to the point where I was tired of dealing with Omada's Unify. I got tired of where I was dealing with Unify's sketchy updates and how you would update something and then it might not work anymore. Or you might have to update it and do a factory reset and then readopt it to get it to work again. And I'm sure that they've gotten better over the last few years. I was just tired of dealing with it. While I was doing that, I was frequently reviewing TP-Link networking hardware, and they would send me stuff to review, and I would review it, and then I would put Amazon affiliate links to all of it in the description under my store, my Amazon influencer store. Anyway, I generated a lot of revenue for them through my Amazon affiliate sales. So one day I put together a spreadsheet of like all of my sales for the last, like year at that point. And I was like, hey, look, this is a significant amount of money. I would like to call in a favor on this or whatever, if you guys would hook me up with a complete Omada system for my house. And they did. And I've been using it for the last 1.5 or 2 years or something. And it's been great. But it's a lot. Like there's like 3 or 4 different pieces of hardware, like in my living room. That's like the router and the brain and a switch. And then there's a Wi-Fi hotspot, or access point, not a hotspot, an access point in the house. And then it comes, I've got a cable that comes like under the house, through the wall into here where it goes into the rack, where I've got a managed switch there, and then I've got another 1 gig coming out of that to another switch under my desk over here. It's a lot, and it works well, but I don't know. I'm doing some work with Asus. They've sent me a router. They're sending me another one, so that I can kind of a wired mesh backhaul for the product that they've got. Anyway, that's coming, and I may switch to that because it supports a 10 gig. It's got 2 10 gig ports, 4 2.5 gig ports and 4 1 gig ports, if I remember correctly. And they're going to send me a second one. So I have one in the front of the house and I'll have one back here. And then I'll do some networking through all of that. But yeah, as far as having multiple Wi-Fi networks, Unify and Omada are great for doing those things. But I'm always looking for something different. So let's see. Yep. I have main network guest work. Yeah, I've got the same thing, Ben. The main, the guest, and the IoT. James Collins says, device separation on your network is a very good thing. Besides a number of different VLANs for wired devices, I push out 4 different Wi-Fi networks. It's a great strategy. Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm hoping that one of these days I will quit being lazy about some of the practices that I've got in place. But yeah, so let's see what else. We're all constantly learning new things as our world evolves. 100%, Jordan. 100% agree with that. Why Plex server, not Jellyfin? Because, okay, so when I first started, I was using Plex, and it was great. And then I was using Plex, and it was great. And then they were having an issue with their authentication servers, so logging in and out of accounts was a real pain, and getting into it so that I could turn off the remote authentication was a pain in my butt. So I switched to MB, which was fine because it was we were just using it in the house, and all of the TVs had the MB app on it, and everything was fine. And then MB started just having all kinds of issues. It really did. And but while I was using MB, I'd seen that there was Plex had released something called Plex Amp, which was just a single application that connected. It was just for music, right? So that you could remotely connect to your Plex server and only pull up music without having the full media interface. It was just for playing music. But in order to use that, you had to have Plex Pass. So I put together an email. I emailed Plex and I was like, hey, look, I've made Plex videos in the past. They've always done well. I want to make this Plex Amp video, but I don't want to pay for a Plex Pass. Would you be able to front me one for like a week so I can make this video? And they just gave me a lifetime pass. So when MB started having issues on my end through their containers or whatever it was, you're okay, dude, you can get through. Anyway, when MB started having issues, I switched back to Plex because I realized I had a lifetime pass that gave me all of the features and benefits that I wanted. I've used Jellyfin a little bit and I don't like it. They don't have as many apps. It's not as intuitive. It's not good if you're trying to share your library with other people. And I understand that the people have their preferences. It just isn't mine for keeping things simple and user friendly, both for my wife and my kid. And if somebody else wants to jump up and watch a movie or jump on my system and watch a movie, Plex is just a better user interface for most people. And it's an easier app to use, like on smart TVs and that sort of thing, than some of the other apps that are out there for MB. And I don't even know if Jellyfin has one yet, but that's why. So, let's see. I scrolled way too far. My wife is not tech savvy, so I have to make everything that if something happens to me, my wife will have access to hundreds of that's exactly it. Like, and I'm talking to Craig here about the tech savvy, making sure that she still has access to anything that if it happens. Yeah, 100%. And in fact, to answer a question that I know that's coming down later, somebody asked about like photo backups and things like that. Synology, just because it's the easiest thing for me to use. I've got the Synology app on my phone and my wife's phone, and everything gets backed up to the devices back here, and then they get re-backed up somewhere else. It's not a great solution I have, but like Collins and one of the other mods in Discord have both been warned that whenever something happens to me, that my wife will be reaching out to them to help her get through all of this, to figure out what's going on. Which is also why I'm trimming down some things, not because I expect anything to happen to me, but it's because I know something will. I just don't know when I don't know when it will happen. So I'm trying to like simplify a few things here and there. So that's 6'4", usually around 280, 310, chubby, not huge. Yeah, like, and here's the thing, like, to look at me right now, I don't think that you would guess that I'm at 240, because I wear it fairly well, but I'd still like to drop another 40 pounds just because I would like to be healthier. My blood pressure is in check, due to some extra meds I had to go on because of some other issues I'm having that aren't related to my diet. They're not related to my habits. Like it's a vasculitis issue. Like my veins, my arteries are contracting. It's part of the condition I've got, which is why I get sick. So it's a whole thing, right? But then we've got me on some new meds that helps, um, with my blood pressure. Like my blood pressure is great these days. My cholesterol is great these days. Like, but I still would like to be a lower body temperature just to make my body and not have to work as hard to be a body. Um, yeah, the army as a teen got me down to like 180. So here, it's funny you say that because the army also got me to 180. I went to Fort Benning, Georgia for basic training in August of 2001, and I weighed 160 pounds. When I got out of AIT in February of 2002, I was coming in at like 185. But I was taking a lot of supplements and things like that once I got to AIT to help bulk up and help my APFT scores. So everything was from one of those shops you can go to buy supplements and stuff. Whose name escapes me. It doesn't matter. But yeah, like I went from 160 to 180 in basic training AIT. And then yeah, so Andrew said, "What are you using to back up photos?" Like I said, I use my Synology device for that. I tried using Nextcloud for that. I tried using PhotoPrism for that, but it felt forced. And now I've just got the Photos app on my phone, my wife's phone. So when we take pictures, once we connect to our home Wi-Fi or any Wi-Fi, I guess, it just backs everything up to our appropriate accounts, and we're good to go. So that's how I do it, and it's been super super convenient for me. So Don Larson asks, "Did you go to the carnivore diet, or what are you doing?" I don't subscribe to a diet in that. So my wife and I don't eat a lot of meat. We're not vegetarian. We're not vegan. We've been both in the past, but we're not. My wife tells me there's this term called flexitarian, and I believe her. I just haven't really spent a lot of time looking it up, where it's like where you're getting most of your fiber and protein and nutrition from fruits and vegetables, but you'll still have a burger every once in a while. You'll have a steak every once in a while. We've got salmon steaks that I'm going to barbecue later this week. So here's what it was, right? Because of my issue with food scarcity as a child, I had a very unhealthy relationship with food. So I was sneaking food in my own house in the middle of the night. I didn't need to. The food's going to be there in the morning. The food has been there all day, but I would have these like little anxiety attacks at night. Like, financially we're fine. We're buying groceries, we're paying bills, our rent is good, our cars are paid for. Like, all of our bills are paid every month. There are some months where obviously harder than others, but I would spiral out in my brain, and I would have this I would kind of go back to these old ways of thinking of, oh God, we're not going to have any food. I need to eat as much as I can right now while we've still got it. We've never not had food, right? But my brain can't accept that. But also, when I spiral out, I'm somebody who eats to feel comfort, right? So like, so I would spiral out, and then I would eat in the middle of the night because the food's not going to be there in the morning. It is, but my brain wouldn't accept that. But because I was anxious about that, then I would anxious eat as well. So I was constantly throwing empty calories and empty carbs and all of this empty sugar at myself. So what I did was this. I talked to my doctor about my anxiety, and he gave me something to help with that. He gave me some meds that are on when needed. They're not an everyday thing. It's like when you feel yourself spiraling, take half of one of these. We're not going to talk about what it is, but it's legit. It's not over the counter. Had to get a prescription for it, but it helps. But then I also, like, if I start to feel myself having one of those anxiety moments where it's like, oh, there's no food. There's food, but there's no food, right? I'll go grab a tub of peanut butter and a spoon, and I'll hit myself with a couple of tablespoons of peanut butter because it weighs heavily on the stomach. It's got a lot of protein. So that kind of helps satiate some of that. But more fruits, more vegetables. In fact, we went bonkers this week when we went shopping with the fruits and vegetables for snacking. But I don't drink soda hardly anymore at all. Like I didn't drink a lot of soda. I've always been like real big on my water. But basically no soda. I cut my drinking back. I don't eat crackers and chips and cookies hardly at all anymore. There are exceptions to that, but for a while, like I said, I was sneaking this crap in the middle of the night at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I would wake up and go get a big handful of garbage and stuff that in my face and go back to sleep. Um, so if I feel myself about to spiral into one of those, like I said, I'll use peanut butter to help satiate some of that. But I also try to get in a decent breakfast, which is kind of a carnivore diet in the way I do it, but not fully. What I'll typically do is do like a light English muffin with no butter on it, but I'll toast it. Then I'll do an egg on top of that with some bacon and some cheese and some hot sauce. It'll actually be 2 eggs, some bacon, some cheese, some hot sauce on an open-faced English muffin. That's my breakfast. And then usually at lunch I'll have just something real light, and then at dinner, my wife and I, like tonight, we've already planned. We're going to do a shrimp tray with vegetables. Like we'll get a vegetable tray and a shrimp tray, and that'll be our dinner tonight. Like last night, I made dinner. I made chili, but I do a lot more protein and a lot less carbs and sugars, but not a full carnivore diet. But even that, because of all of my other medical conditions and issues, like one of my favorite vegetables is broccoli. My wife makes this bomb ass like roasted broccoli bowl thing that I can't have anymore because of the blood thinners I'm on. The broccoli has too much vitamin K for the blood thinners and it causes issues. So like I have to walk this real tight line between 3 different diets and figure out where they intersect the most. But sometimes it's just like, screw it, I'm having a cheeseburger today, or screw it, I'm gonna have a bunch of broccoli today, and I just have to make sure that it's only every once in a while. So part of it was changing what I was when I was eating, but part of it was also changing my relationship with food. Because there have been days like on the weekends where I'm just like, screw it, I'm just gonna do whatever. And like I would go in and grab a bowl of chips, just a small bowl, like a snack size bowl of chips. And I would eat that and be like, oh, I want more of those. So I go in and I grab the box of crackers or chips or whatever and be like, really? Like you just had like 1,000 calories of nonsense and you're going back for more. Because there's no actual, it's sugar and it's fat and it's carbs, right? That's what chips and crackers are. So, and your body is programmed to crave that. So when I do that again, I go for the peanut butter, or I'll fill one of these and drink it in a single go, like just to weigh down my stomach to give myself that feeling of feeling full. So I've just been doing that for the past few months, and I've been slipping a bit here and there, but yeah, no, it's definitely something that I've worked with, I've struggled with, and I'm still struggling with from time to time, but feeling better, looking better, and those stack on top of each other as well. You know, like when you feel like you look like crap, you kind of give up. So you're just like, screw it, I'm just going to do whatever. So it's kind of a spiral up as well instead of a spiral down, and that's been super helpful for me. Let's see. So Don, I hope that long convoluted answer gave you some insight there. Craig says I was 396 when I had a heart attack and 90% of my stomach removed and dropped to 242. That's a big drop. Like that's a big drop. And I believe that you feel better. I hope that you're able to maintain that. I know some people will get a surgery like that, or they'll get a lap band, or they'll get a tuck, or whatever it's called. I know there's a bunch of different ways to do it, but then they'll eat right through it. I hope you're able to stick with it. That'd be amazing. Let's see. The best diet for myself is to stay away from processed food since it's so calorie dense. Exactly. Exactly. Like 4 Oreos is equal to 25 strawberries. Yeah, 100%. And it's you know, but here's the problem as well, is that not everybody has the ability to do that. Some people, like when in 2016, and I don't mean to keep going back to that, but it's 2016, 2017, even into 2018, we weren't doing well financially because I wasn't able to earn an income. My wife was earning an income. Like I was getting some disability while we were going through some stuff, and luckily they fixed that, and my disability payments are consistent every month, and that's super helpful. But we were eating a lot of stuff from like the dollar store because that's all we could afford. You know, we were making sure that the kid had nutritious food, but we were just like, we've got to make sure he's good. We'll deal with whatever is on the tail end of that. And this has been years ago. We're good now. But we were like, we were eating at the dollar store. That's what we could afford. So, and a lot of that is, it's not filling, but it's calorie dense. So you end up eating twice as much to get the same feeling of fullness, but now you've overloaded on fats and sugars and carbs and saturated fats and oils and cholesterol, and all of this stuff you've eaten 2 or 3 times what you should, to only barely feel as full as you would if you had had the chance to eat something more nutritious. And it's hard for some people, and I get that, and I feel fortunate that I'm able to do what I'm able to do now. So yeah, Collins, you're welcome. I'm glad that you were able to benefit from me bailing on Unify. Andrew said, I was considering switching from OpenSense to Unify, but now I reconsider. Look, I don't know. I haven't touched Unify in a long time. It's been a couple of years. So I don't know if they have fixed their update issues. Collins could tell you better than I can. But yeah, there's that. Don says, fully on. Wow, it just keeps scrolling crazily here. Where did it go? Don says, yep, I'm full of mod on myself. 9 switches, some are 10 gig. Hardware controller gateway, the whole thing. I really like the updates they put out this year. I'm still a few updates behind because while I don't worry about it quite as much with things failing after an update, the updates take a while. Like even after you've downloaded them, and the reboot process takes a while, and the install process takes a while, and then coming back online takes a while. And I'm just lazy. Like I could do it all from Home Assistant, but I'm so lazy. I need to do some updates on the controller, and I think the access point. Yeah. Michael says, Unify got all that worked out. I've been using them for years, and they did at one point have issues with some of the updates, but they've been pretty solid. That's good. I'm glad that Michael and Collins both agree with that. Love Plex, and my Asus Star 4 is my Plex server, and I can stream my own music to my car, and my daughter at uni can watch. That's cool. That's what I love about that, because like you can give access to whoever you want to have access to your stuff. Absolutely love it. Chris, I had a heart attack at 40 and got told this is only a matter of when, not if, and people don't realize we have to consider these things when implementing Home Lab. Yeah, and it's something that I've gone back and forth with a bit. Like I said, like I've done some stuff with damn it, I just made a video on it here recently. It's escaped me. I apologize. But I did some stuff to help automate some of my updates and management and that sort of thing. And that's been super helpful. But they're like really all my wife is going to need when I go is she's going to need access to the Plex server for her phone backups, and she'll need access to the Zima Cube once I've got that switched over to be the Plex server. And then like the home, like the smart home stuff, it'll suck when it stops working, but it won't be quite as detrimental as not being able to access our pictures and the media library. So yeah, +1 for Plex. I've tried other solutions, but I always go back to Plex. Same. I have a few remote family members that rely on my Plex server being operational. Yeah. Spectacular Austin says, wait, the Photos app can sync to a NAS. Like when I say the Photos app, I mean Synology has an app called Photos. I should have clarified that. So I'm using Synology's Photos app that backs up to a NAS. You could use, like I've used things like SyncThing in the past to back up my phone to a NAS. But I wasn't clear when I said the Photos app. It's the Synology Photos app that I use for my wife, or my phone and my wife's phone to back everything up. I feel about the relationship with food. I'm doing the home lab to build an AI PC to keep. Yeah, absolutely. That's a big share. Thank you, Craig. It says, I've just been diagnosed with early stage dementia, and I'm carrying 5 other brain injuries from a life well lived. Yeah, that's I don't envy you. That's all I can say is I don't envy you, and of course I wish you all the best. And I hope they're able to do stuff to help keep that slowed down as much as possible. Let's see. Wraps Calorie says, I always just do an egg cheese on toast, but I got a pressure cooker on the way that comes with an egg bite. Yeah, so we've actually got one of those little egg poacher things that looks like a little bird or whatever. You put some water in it, you put the thing in, you put the eggs in, and it cooks them. That's how I do my eggs in the morning, just because it's a super easy way to do that. Colin says I'm a big fan of peanut butter spoon to help with the cravings, and I've also moved almost to exclusively drinking water. Sometimes I have a water with an electrolyte powder in it. Yeah, absolutely. Do it like I have a tub of peanut butter next on my nightstand because if I have a craving in the middle of the night, it helps me get rid of it really quickly. And so I'll hit one of those, I'll down one of these, and then I'm able to fight off that craving a little bit. Um, he says continues with I'm to the point where I'm drinking 3 of those 40-ounce LTT water bottles per day. That's a great way to do it. I've got a 64-ounce water bottle that for a while I was going through 2 of those a day, which is a lot. But yeah, so in fact it's about the same, about 120 ounces, about a gallon a day. And not everybody needs that much. In fact, I don't need that much, but it helps me with some of my cravings, and I'm thirsty a lot, and that could be related to my kidney stuff. But yeah, I drink a lot of water, and that's been helping. Oh come on, where did it go? Craig says I'm keeping the weight off for 7 years so far. That's amazing. It's if you can keep it off for more than a year, it's usually much easier to keep it off after that. I think even a year is probably too long. I think if you can keep it off for 6 months and keep your mental health in a good place, it's easier to keep keeping it off. Your diet's paying off. I'm ordering pizza tonight. Yeah, we actually did that a couple of weeks ago. Had some friends over, ordered pizza because it was just easier. But like I said, I made chili last night that was really good. I'm excited about that. And then we're doing shrimp and veggies for dinner tonight. So I've been against soda for a while, but I have my spurts, absolutely. Been bad because I need to deep clean the soda stream bottles, and I haven't. Yeah, my wife actually needs to replace her soda stream bottles. She was doing a lot of that for a while, too. Hey, Nighthawk, glad you're here. Says he's listening on the side. We're getting barbecue delivery after grocery shopping all day. Isn't that just it? You go spend a couple $100 at the grocery store or more, depending on what you're doing, and you're like, screw it, I did all that. I burned myself out. I'm just ordering takeout now. I'll grab a bottle here and there very rarely. I find most soft drinks make me phlegmy and I don't enjoy it. Yeah, when you spend the rest of the afternoon like clearing your throat and like having to do the extra swallow to be able to do, yeah, I get that. Lived on ramen and at $1 for food. Yeah, 100%. When I was a kid, I spent 9 months on the ramen diet, 3 meals a day. But yeah, and look, I haven't had ramen in months, but I still like ramen. But it was my only source of nutrition for a while when I was a kid. So I have a weird relationship with it, but I still enjoy it. So in fact, what I used to do when I was eating it up until recently is I would get like a pack or 2 packs of ramen and cook it, drain all of the water out of it so it was just the cooked noodles, and then put like a heaping tablespoon of sour cream in it. And the flavor pack and a hot sauce of whatever type I happened to grab out of the fridge at the time. And I would eat that. And it was a rich, creamy bowl of a lot of calories and not a lot of nutrition. But I really enjoyed that for a while. Let's see. It says, your story and mine are so close. It's successful businesses, then a heart attack. 12 weeks later, and it's all gone. Then on permanent disability and cheap shop food. Yeah, it was... having a permanent disability will change your life in ways you didn't know it could. But you learn to work through it. You learn to cope with things. You learn to deal with things, or you don't. Some people don't, and I never really thought about doing that. I just, even when things were like at their worst in the hospital, it never occurred to me that giving up was an option. Like and it wasn't like I'm so big and bad. It was like, okay, what are we doing next? How are we going to get through this? What's the next thing? What's the next step? And it's not to say I didn't have rough patches where I just like, F this, I'm out. In fact, right after I got out of the hospital, I didn't take my meds for like a month. Like I was at a point where I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Because getting home from the hospital was worse than being in the hospital. But I got through it. You know, I saw a therapist for a while. My wife helped me through it. Friends helped me through it. Yeah, so you either learn to roll through it and you work with it and you live the hand you're dealt, or you give up and you let things just happen. So, let's see, where. Unify is notorious for using their users as beta testers. Yeah, Windows does the same thing though. Some flavored waters are terrible, but some are properly 0 calories. Yeah. We've actually got a couple of Mios that are like that. They're actually pretty good. Nighthawk says, I run Marikai gear for network stuff, but also have a Unify aggregate switch. Unify gear for my network. It's been pretty solid the last few years. How do you handle the duplicate photos in this Synology Photos app? I don't have duplicate photos in my, like, I just let the app do its thing, and it just backs up everything for me. If there's a duplicate photo, it's two separate photos that I took in sync, and I don't care if I've got those. I've never had an issue where I've needed any kind of like deduplication or anything like that. So all of the above info I have shared is to say that your channel helps me every week since I subscribe. So thank you. Thank you. Like, and I don't mean for that to sound cheesy or pedantic or whatever. Right? Like I'm trying to build a community here, and I know that I've been real crap the last couple of months about doing these live streams, but I genuinely am trying to build a community. So in my videos, when I say the typical YouTuber stuff of let me know in the comments, is this something you would use? Yes, part of it is for engagement, but also part of it is because I want to know what people are doing. I want to know what apps they're using. I want to know how they're using apps. I want to know if they've got alternates to the apps that I'm showing. So it's sometimes it's honestly, I'm gonna pity party for a second. Sometimes it's disheartening when I ask these questions, and then I get like no responses to that, or it's like, or I'll make a post about a hoarder, and somebody's like, my Chromebook doesn't work. Cool. I don't know what to tell you about that. So it's a creator issue, right? But I genuinely am trying to build a community because there are several of us here that have health issues, that have weight issues, that have mental health issues, and we're all just trying to get through life together, right? And it sucks, and it's nice to have somebody that you can relate to and talk to about some of that stuff. So yeah, let's see. Colin said, I had kidney stones when I was younger, so staying hydrated is something that's important for me. I believe that. Yeah, you want to keep your kidneys flushed as much as possible. So we need new videos that can help newbies to home servers. Can you elaborate on that, Craig? So he said, any new videos that can help newbies to home servers and home lab stuff. I'm from Edinburgh, Scotland. I actually spent a couple of weeks in that area. Lots of fun. Loved it. Let's get notified. With my health, I have no regrets, but my brain injuries came about helping others. The sacrifice of the one outweighs the other. Yeah, and oftentimes it does. Yeah, and it's it's interesting how you can be just living your life, and all of a sudden everything changes due to no fault of your own, and it's crazy just how quickly everything can change, and there's nothing you can do about going back to the way it was. And that can really feel lonely and isolating. Hey, dude. See, and on the community topic, come join the Discord. Yeah, absolutely. I think this video... Sorry, I'm popping this open down here just so I can make sure that I can find the right link. Discord. Yeah, below this, there's a link that says join the Discord. Oh, you know what? I can just do this. I'm just going to paste it right there. Collins, just so you know, you can post links in here. You've got that privilege as a moderator. Oh, and you did. Fucking, never mind. Craig, let's see. Ben says, Craig, that's the way to go, buddy. No one wants to be on their deathbed with regrets. 100%. 100%. So home lab, home server stuff, and now looking to set up a Minis Forum 01 for virtualization and an AI PC to test LLM models. So I really want the Minis Forum 01 because they've got a lot of really cool stuff in there. I would set that up with Proxmox. I've actually made a Proxmox video. I made a few different Proxmox videos. Sorry, I'm looking for something. Is it over here? I don't know where it went. But like, I've made a couple of different Proxmox videos. Like when I set up the HL15 back here, I also did one on the Zima Blade. In fact, I did a couple of videos using the Zima boards. where I set up Proxmox, and then I set up 3 nodes, then I set up a high availability cluster, all using Proxmox on small devices like that. So for setting up the AI stuff, you would just need to have a GPU that's compatible if you want to go that route, and then do hardware pass-throughs and that sort of thing. I hate doing them, but luckily, via some of the cool guys in my Discord, we were able to get it done. So that was another reason to join Discord. But yeah, so I would love to get a Minis 401 to do more testing with that, because they're badass little machines. I think in the Discord, I've had anything interesting to talk about. You don't have to have anything. You can respond to people. You can just participate when it feels appropriate. Like there's like a dozen of us or so, about a dozen of us that just like we're in there all the time. We've just always got it open. But there's hundreds of people that just randomly pop in to say hi or ask questions. So don't feel like you've got to just like dedicate any time to it. If you're there, great. If you just want to say hi and go on with your day, that's cool too. But let's see. This is the most healing tech channel ever. I just forgave my dad. I wish I had put myself in a position to do that, but he's dead now, and I'm okay with it for lots and lots of reasons. But look, I'm an open book about my mental health, about my physical health, about my medical journey, and I will talk until your ears are blue. If I've got the opportunity to do it about everything in my life. So we talk about all kinds of stuff in here. Let's see. Snowball effect. I just picked up a new Intel OmniPath 100 gig single port. Wow. Holy crap. Plus survived 2 brain aneurysms in the past year. That is bonkers. And survived is the correct word there. Like, I thought pulmonary embolisms and DVTs were bad. Aneurysms don't play. You're super lucky to have survived both of those. Cool. Craig just joined the Discord. Super happy to have you there. Let's see. I have 5 Raspberry Pis and a special rack mount that takes 5 Raspberry Pis. That's cool. I love seeing those rack mount things. I got to ask, do you have the PoE hats that let you just like have the one cable solution? I'd love to know that. We have a lot of fun in Discord. We're genuine helpers and don't talk down to each other or think we're better than anyone. We just make sure that everybody gets to help and learn. That's right. And look, here's the thing. Like, we will often flip each other crap, but it's meant in jest. We don't try to attack each other. We don't try to be rude to each other. If somebody says something concerning, we'll address it, but it's always meant from a place of genuine concern and trying to help. It's never meant as an attack on, you're an idiot. Why would you do that? It's like, hey, that may not be a great idea, and here's why. So it's always been very much, we try to be helpful, even if sometimes it might come across as other than that. It's never meant to be an attack. It's genuinely out of a place of concern when we try to say, hey, you might not want to do that because. And yes, let's see, jump in and ask questions. That's great. Everyone has been great and happy to help in the Discord. Nobody has been shitty or called questions stupidity. Yeah, and that's, look, here's the thing. Okay, here's some more diatribes about me. I was sick in 2016. So I actually started doing the self-hosting stuff in like 2019, 2020, kind of somewhere in there. My mental health was still garbage, and I was an awful, awful human being to some people in the comments. I talked down to them. I disregarded their experience level. I was truly an awful person in my own comment section. And I genuinely do feel bad about that, because I know that there are people out there who gave up on the hobby because of me. There's no way that didn't happen, right? Like, nobody has ever told me that, but there's no way it didn't happen. And I genuinely feel awful for the things that I did back then, the way I treated people, the way I talked to people. It was uncalled for. It was rude. And I've dealt with a lot of my mental health stuff over the past few years. So it's been a growing experience for me. It's been, and we're trying to help everybody grow together. Like I didn't know this until a while back. Like, I actually helped Collins and Nighthawk get back into like the Docker stuff. They were really good with like Proxmox, and they helped me learn a lot about Proxmox, but we're constantly exchanging information in there. We've got several different chat forums or chat rooms or whatever they're called in the server. Plus, we've actually put in an actual forum in there. So if you've got a very specific question that you know is going to take some effort, you can go start a forum thread, and it stays there to help other people in the future. We're very much trying to help everybody out that we can. Anybody that joins, we try to help them, unless they're trying to scam people, and that was an issue for a while. But let's see, no PoE hats, but do have 1 terabyte NVMe hats on all of them. That's cool. Have Nextcloud on one, but also mounted my NAS. That's the way to do it, man. That's great. Have one running Casa OS and one running paperless NGX, and I scan my mail to storage. That's amazing. That's what I love about YouTube, about the platform in general, about social media in general. Other than the dumbing down of humanity, you can, if you avoid some of that stuff, you can find really good stuff. I've saved thousands of dollars on looking up how to do car repairs. In fact, one of the videos you'll find on my channel, if you look for it, is how to change the heater core in a Volvo. Because I wasn't doing self-hosting or any of that stuff on here yet. And somebody had made a video that I was able to use, but the video wasn't good. It was good enough to give me where to look, but not. So I just made my own version of that video, and it did fairly well, all things considered. But yeah, no, the internet can be a very cool place or a very bad place, and a lot of other stuff right in the middle. My attention split. Sorry, Mets are playoff. Mets are in the playoffs right now, huh? I have. Okay, so and I've never actually used Unraid, and people have offered me licenses, but like I don't want to like take the license and then never use it. I'd feel like such a jerk. So Druxpack says, I was listening in the car, but did you ever expand on Network Chuck? I don't like his presentation, and I don't like some of the stuff that he has said in some of his videos. And as a result of those two things that I don't want to go into any further than that, I've just stopped watching his content. And it's like, I'm sure he's a fine gentleman. I don't like his approach to his content. And look, I know it works. His numbers prove that his approach works, but it doesn't sit well with me. I don't like the way the presentation is done. And again, some of the stuff he has said about his personal life, it just doesn't sit well with me. But again, that's a childhood thing. But anyway, I'm sure he puts out great content for the right audience. His numbers prove that. I just can't watch it. So, I'm an 80s baby, so I'm from the Sticks and Stones era. You can't hurt my feelings. Yeah, we just learned to bottle it up until you implode. Yeah, that's 100% correct. I was born in 81, so I totally get that. But here's the thing, right? Like for a long time, for a couple of years, YouTube comments hurt my feelings. And now if you try to hurt my feelings, I'll just delete your comment and make sure your comments don't show up on my channel anymore. So I've learned to move on. Still using FreeNAS and have no intention of moving. That's funny. I think we've got voice channels in Discord, though I don't think they've ever actually been used other than one time when I did a podcast interview with Ethan Shawley for the Self-Host newsletter. In fact, it was last year. He did an end of the year wrap up for some different things, and then we talked about it on chat in there, and I recorded it. In fact, we're getting ready to do another one of those. If you haven't taken the Self-Host newsletter survey, you should. I get a lot of my video ideas from that. But he's doing another survey right now, and once it wraps up on the 11th, he's going to crunch all the numbers, and then we're actually going to do a live stream here on this channel, where we go through all of the results and talk about it. Like we'll be doing video instead of audio, and I'm really excited about that. But yeah, we have voice in Discord, but it rarely ever gets used. What else? A few years ago, I had major health challenges. I'm now disability benefits. I must thank you very much for what you do for us. And look, here's the thing. I can only do this because you guys watch, because you guys interact, because you guys get on my impromptu live streams that I didn't plan on doing today. Like I genuinely had no plans on doing it. And I was like, F it. We're doing a live stream today. If people join, great. If not, that's fine too. I get it. Let's see. It's because of you that I started my home servers. I have several mini computers and several services running. Started hosting services for my family and friends. It's helped a lot. Dude, that's great. Like, I'm really, really happy to hear that. So thank you, Sven. I really appreciate all of your comments there. Ben says, I prefer the way you do it, straightforward, and you hit all the right points. Most of my videos are modeled off the way you do it. That's fair. Look, and here's the thing. Like, when I started my YouTube, like when I first started YouTube, I wanted to just do like computer builds. Like, I wanted to be a Linus or a Jay or a Kyle he was Awesome Sauce. He's now Bitwit. Like, I wanted to be one of those channels. And then one day I tried to do a video or a PC build and realized that's not for me. Like, you have to set up so many different shots, and you have to stop and talk about what you're doing, and like what should be what should take an hour to just build a PC ends up like a 5-hour process. I didn't have the patience for it then, and I've switched up the way I do things so many times. I'm always experimenting with new things, but I always hope that I'm hitting the right points. Please show how to run Proxmox in the cloud VM machine. I probably won't do that. I don't do a lot of cloud stuff. I did some cloud stuff with a provider for a couple of years. I'm just not much into the cloud. Funny, my so-called friends disappeared when I had a heart attack, and others disappeared with my brain injuries. So now that's great. Yeah, it's funny how people will disappear when your life changes. When your life changes for the worse, people don't want to be around it. They don't want to deal with it because you're going through a rough spot, and people are already dealing with enough of their own roughness. But look, and that's fair, and I get that. But them seeing your mortality on the table shows them their own, and that scares people. So now most of the people that I am friends with, we've got a lot of shared trauma. Like we both have a lot of extreme traumas. Like, I've got a friend who's been through more than I will ever experience in my life, and she's pretty awesome. But I think people with trauma tend to trauma bond with other people with trauma, and have a harder time connecting with people who don't have that level of trauma, because there's when you start saying I'm having a rough day, because some people just don't know how to deal with that, and it can put people off. So 12-hour stream, let's go. No, probably not. Like, we'll probably get to 3. I will almost guarantee 3. 12's probably not going to happen. I've been here for a while playing Call of Duty with my son. That's amazing. Keep doing that. I love that idea. Do I look like I give like, yeah, I definitely need something like that. Hey, Duke, glad to have you here. We've been at it a couple of hours, just kind of BSing. Not really anything. We've just been talking about tech and health and mental health and all kinds of stuff. So thanks for hanging out. I appreciate that. Chuck is a bit loud and fast for me. I'll admit to looking at my own AI PC he's built. I get that. Cannot see any voice. I may have changed the settings on the voice stuff. Did you? So on there, did you go through the actual thing? Did you go check the box in the welcome forum? If you don't do that, you won't be able to. Yeah. Nighthawk's in there giving people the what for to check the box up above. Like, if you scroll up past, like if you're in the Discord welcome room, if you scroll up a little bit, it'll say like Me6 app. You must agree to the rules to join. And currently there's 135 check marks. Check that, and then you can get access to the rest of the server. Yep, that's the one. Yeah, so if you check that, then you get access to everything else. I had to do that because we were getting a lot of spam and a lot of bots and all kinds of nonsense in there. So, survey stuff. So yeah, no, go into the welcome room. Hit the green check mark up there next to the Me6. You'll get access to everything. So now I'm finding new friends online and still love to help people whenever I can. And that's just it. That's what we're doing here. That's what we're doing in the Discord. That's what we're doing here in the chat, here on the live stream. Like, I like talking to people. I like sharing my experience in tech and life and all of that stuff. And so yeah. I also have a Master of Science. That's awesome. It says I have a Bachelor of Engineering degree in computing. I also have a Master of Science degree in marketing. So I help everyone for free as I'm on disability. That's amazing. Those are really good degrees to have, especially in tandem with each other. Um, let's see. My teenage son had a 14-hour surgery to remove an unruptured brain. Oh, wow. Yeah, going through something big like that will absolutely change your entire life. The priorities, the people, it will change everything about everything you're doing. Um, and that will put some people off. That will make people leave your life. And that's not always a bad thing. It's really not. Um, yeah, so hope your son is doing well. My daughter's high function autistic, so it's very hard every day. Yeah, autism's a bitch. I don't know how else to put that. Autism's a bitch. And some days are way better than others, and some days are way worse than others. But for the last couple of months, we've been on a huge upswing. We haven't actually seen any real violence in a couple of months. We were seeing violence multiple times a day sometimes for months, and it was rough. And it really hampered the go get 'em attitude of the house. So yeah, so that's with that getting better, our stress is going down, and because our stress is going down, his stress is going down, and because his stress is going down, he's less violent. And the meds we've been working on getting him on for the past several months, it's all been working in tandem to get us to where we are, and I'm really happy that we are where we are here. So yeah. Yeah, Nighthawk said we don't really hang out in the voice channels, just as an FYI. So to make money, I create online courses and have a few micro SaaS, but I never say their names on chat to be polite. Dude, if you want to chat about it in Discord, man, we'd love to know more about that. That sounds like a really cool adventure you've got going on there. I'm kind of doing that. I just make YouTube videos and hope people watch them. So yeah, so it's no, I really like the thing that we've got going here. Looks like we had at least a couple of other people join. Okay, so yeah, no, so we've got 135 and 136 going on there. Once you check that box, you should be able to get access to everything. But yeah, we don't really do much in the voice chat, just because we're all in and out so much throughout the day doing different things. But yeah, we just do the different different rooms. We've got like general chat and pictures and suggestions and Docker and Proxmox and tips and tricks and AI and automation. And then we've got a tech help forum. Oh yeah, I actually do have the voice stuff locked down because it wasn't getting used. So that's what's going on there. Yeah, kids with autism, health issues. Yeah, it's bonkers. It's really bonkers how you can find a couple of people on and I think you said you live in Edinburgh, so that's a long way. I've been to Edinburgh a couple of times. Really neat place. I think that's actually where I went to Fringe in 2011. Dude, that was so much fun. I still think about that. Yeah, so Dorkstick, which is a funny name, those are currently locked out. I may change that if we get enough people asking for it. I mentioned the AI channel. You just weren't paying attention. You're watching the Mets. No, I mentioned it. I've mentioned it quickly in passing, but yeah. So we've got several different channels in here to chat and that sort of thing. So I just saw Collins. There's also a lockdown thing for the moderators, and Collins is being funny. Look, if enough people want it, I will absolutely turn it back on, or I'll get it turned back on. But it's never been anything somebody's requested. I actually had somebody help me years ago set this up, and they did a great job with it. But they've gone off to do other things, so I'm still learning Discord as we go. But there were just some of it I locked down because it wasn't getting used, and when it was getting used, it was being abused. So I just shut a bunch of it down to simplify it. I guess other challenges. I don't see any voice channels yet. Let's see. Don't forget the AI channel. Sometimes I go outside. Yeah, like I have to go outside at least 10 times a week to take the kid to therapy and bring him home. But they just took the Mets just took the lead and he's hyped. That's great. Hit me up next time you're over. I was a black taxi driver in Edinburgh during the night and went to university during the day. Hence the heart attack and the brain injuries. Wow, that's crazy. I I only took one black taxi while I was there, and it was actually at Fringe. Um, and then I took a taxi from, man, there are two there are two airports in London, or Heathrow and another one, and I had to catch a car from one to the other, and that dude drove like a mad person, just bonkers fast through there to get me from A to B. It was crazy. Um, yeah, even with my qualifications, I struggle to get the terms in Discord, dude. I know the whole thing's a server. Beyond that, they're chat rooms. I spent a lot of time like in Yahoo and AOL chat rooms back in the early 2000s. So everything is a chat room. Um, Outside is where the Mets play. That's true. Gatwick, yes, thank you. He was Gatwick. You're absolutely right. I'm seated comfortably on my couch with my dog. That's great. Collins' dog is such a goofus. Like he just sprawls out, and that's him for a while. He Collins posts pictures every once in a while. It's pretty funny. Spent time outside earlier today with one of the kids' baseball games. Dude, I can't imagine them. You know, and I never did IRC. ASL. That's funny. I never did IRC. I was not tech savvy back then at all. And my tech savviness has really only been in the last 10 years or so. But yeah, no, it's we just hang out, we talk, we BS, we're supportive with each other, we talk about mental health stuff together in Discord. Um, yeah, Keith, thank you for sharing that. That again, that's another big share. Fighting MDD. I'm not familiar with that term. I'm gonna look that up. I apologize. I'm just not familiar with that term. I probably will be when I see it, maybe. MDD. Oh, major depressive. Okay, yeah, and that sucks. I hope you're getting help with that. I genuinely do. Um, hey, dude. But yeah, like if I think it's important for people with trauma to stick together. If you, I've been there's a comedian. I mean, my wife and I watch a lot of comedy. We really enjoy stand-up comedy together. And we've been watching Christopher Titus for a really long time. And he, in one of his first specials, he talks about how dysfunctional families, people with dysfunction, with this kind of stuff, we didn't have as many classy terms for it back when he did this special as we do now. But it was like, people like us learn to just kind of, when we see the stuff about to hit the fan, we step to the side of the fan and we don't get hit. But the people who have never had any trauma or had to deal with major catastrophes in their life, they just stand there and get pelted because they don't know what to do. But he was basically like, if you don't have trauma, get yourself some friends with some trauma and they will help you navigate life, basically. Because you learn how to navigate that, and you learn to step to the side of the fan to keep the S from hitting you in the face there. So, yeah. Bottom line, life is hard. You got to be kind to one another. You never know that's 100% right, Collins. Love your spirit. Thank you for your service. I was in the U.S. for 4 weeks in 2019. Met a ton of vets. Yep. I stayed at a hotel in Edinburgh this winter. It was the London New Year's Day Fest. Oh, that would be fun. That sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. I remember IRC used the college's VA access to access. Wow. You used to run a BBS back in the day? Holy crap. I'm 55. I just turned 43 a couple of months ago. Yeah, no, we try to have fun in the Discord and help each other out and support each other and answer questions. And if somebody has an idea, we often add it to the to the Discord. We've done some expanding with some of the different rooms or whatever, the forums. That was all done recently. I added AI recently because it was getting just thrown in with like general and automation, and I was like, no, let's just have AI be its own thing because we've all been doing a lot of AI stuff in there lately. My daughter laughs when I say I was there before the internet. Yeah, right. Like people can't grasp that people were alive before Google and before YouTube and before a lot of that stuff. And it's like, no, we were there, and we didn't document every waking second of our lives to be used against us in court. Like, I should have been in a lot more trouble as a kid, but luckily we didn't have digital cameras. So, let's see, a lot of us are in our mid-40s there. That's true. Yep. Colin says there's a group of us in the same age range. Yep. I met people IRL from IRC and didn't get murdered. Dude, that's absolutely right. Like there was a, I think it was an AOL chat room that I was in where this dude was getting ready to go to prison the next day for, it was a drug charge or something, 20 plus years ago. And he's like, I can't leave the house, but I can have people over. So here's my address for anybody that wants to stop by. And we had a really good time. It was a lot of fun. DJ Dash says, watching from South Africa. That's cool. Thanks for stopping by. I've actually never been to that. Never been to the Southern Hemisphere now that I think about it. I have to do USA Meat Man. Yep. I agree with Keith about being glad you had a chance to come over and hang out for a bit. That was cool. First computer was an XZ80. That's a lot of words I don't remember. Yahoo Messenger and MSN. Dude, does anyone else remember the all-in-one messenger that brought all of that into one dashboard called Trillion? Because I used that a lot. There was a time before the internet. Seems so long ago. Netscape and AOL. I'm 58 and remember the time before the internet and other things. When I was a teenager, I got a really good deal on a Commodore 64. And so it was the keyboard with the adapter that had the two little prongs that hooked into the back of your TV. I had two 5 1/4-inch floppies with it, and I had the cassette tape recorder because I used to write little programs, and then I would save them to tape, and that's what that was my first, I think, actual computer. I had a Texas Instruments before that, but I mostly just did gaming. I was very little at that time. But I ended up getting a Commodore 64 and learned to do some programming and that sort of thing with it. But food's here, so I'm going to drop. But we'll still be watching. I'll be in the Discord later. Sounds good. Appreciate you, Nighthawk. Mine was Commodore PET. I never had one of those. Very much remember Trillion. Yeah, no, it was... Things were so much different when I was a kid. Just old man yelling at a cloud here. But no, like, and like, even like as a kid, like if I got a new like remote control something or like I was always taking it apart, putting it back together because I wanted to know how it worked. And then like I was still in high school when I got my first apartment. That was its own thing. But my roommate had, I don't remember what it was. I don't remember what computer it was. But we were always getting free AOL discs in the mail. So we just kept doing that. And then I was like, I want to know how websites work. And then I realized you could look at the source code, and it was just very basic HTML. So I started learning to write HTML in Notepad and then saving HTML files. And that's kind of how I got my start. And then I bailed on all of that for years until like 2006. I bailed on it. So from 99, 2000 until like 2006, I kind of bailed on tech. Excuse me. And then I got into blogging a little bit, but WordPress was very, very basic. It wasn't good at the time, and ended up getting into Joomla as a content management solution and adding a blog functionality to it. And then there was a dude, like my girlfriend's parents knew this dude who ran a web development firm in Boise where I lived at the time. And this was like 2006 when I did this. And then he's like, look, I will pay you $18 an hour to learn ASP to help me manage my custom built content management system. But this was at the exact same time where ASP.NET was starting to take over ASP. And so I learned a little bit of ASP and ASP.NET almost 20 years ago. And even back then made $18 an hour to learn it. And that really reinvigorated me. And then I ended up moving to Colorado. And I worked at a restaurant for a while until it got shut down. And then there was just some dude here posted, I think, on Craigslist, said, hey, I'm looking for somebody to help me with websites. And I was like, cool, I'll lie. So I lied my way into that job. And then from there, went and started my own thing, started my own company, had a great referral system, I was making 6 figures a year running my own business for a while. And then the company that I left got bought out. And they're like, hey, look, we will buy you out as well if you'll come run tech for us at the new company we're building. Um, so I did that for a while, and then I got sick and everything changed. So yeah, let's see what else. Whew. My first job out of university was being a COBOL programmer. Wow, working with the newer devs today, they're like, "What is that?" Yeah, it's archaic. There's another YouTuber that I'm subscribed to that she releases content so infrequently that I often forget about her until she pops back up, and I feel like a jerk for saying that because she puts out good content. But she was until recently still a COBOL developer because they're so hard to find and so many companies are still using it. Surprisingly, all these years later. Um, let's see. I knew a dude that had an Amiga. Yeah. Pentium 2 Windows 95 or 3.1. I had a 3.1 machine for a while, and then I ran out of hard drive space, so I went in and deleted all of the INI files because I didn't need those, and then I learned what INI files were. So yeah, that was my experience with 3.1. Yeah, I did a lot of stuff with Front Page and Dreamweaver back in the day. In fact, I still use Dreamweaver for certain things, but not what it's meant for. If I've got like a big script or something, or like I will, okay, so I'll make a video, and then I will use an AI app I think it's an AI. It's called Wind Whisper. I put it on my computer, and then I can drop the video that I just created, my YouTube video, into that, and it will transcribe the whole thing. Well, then I take that SRT file and I move it over to Dreamweaver, and then I will find, like, because it will get something wrong because of all the weird names that people name their stuff, and it will get it wrong. So I will find all of those. I'll drop everything into Dreamweaver, and I'll do a replace all. Like, I'll find where it said it wrong the first time, find that, do a replace all with what it needs to say, and I'll look for other variations of that. But I mostly use Dreamweaver to do mass text replaces in my scripts. So that's what I use Dreamweaver for now. Netgear. Let's see. James, ever use Hot Dog? My first code editor was Micro Emacs. Never used Micro Emacs or any of the Emacs stuff, if I'm being honest. I started with Notepad, and then I tried getting a hold of Dreamweaver and wasn't going to pay the $800, whatever they wanted for it. I didn't know about pirating software. Then I pirated software for a while, and then I quit pirating. Like, I haven't pirated software in a long time. I actually pay for all of my Adobe stuff. But yeah, no, I've been using Dreamweaver off and on for different things for a long time now. Use Dreamweaver so I could render my code in real time. Yeah, no, I get that too. They had it. There was actually a plugin for a while with Dreamweaver where when you saved, it would actually refresh your browser. So you could do like your coding in Dreamweaver and then actually view everything in real time in the browser with this little auto refresh thing. Do my degree, 99, 2003. My dad's first computer was a Packard Bell. Probably ran format right. I just made a Proxmox server as you pass through news. The GNOME 64 has some remote login without having a monitor plug-in and plug. That's cool, Sebastian. Thanks for sharing that. That's really neat. Yeah, that's really cool. I've got my Plex server currently running on the HL15 back there. I'm getting ready to move that over to the ZimaCube once I finish that review, and then I've also got an Invoke AI Docker container running on my Plex VM over here. So, like, if nobody's watching Plex, I will jump in there and do some AI stuff here and there. But my plan is, once I get the Plex setup moved over to the ZimaCube, to just then use that container for that VM for AI stuff, because it's got a GPU pass through to it for that sort of thing. So really digging that. Let's see, MediaTek. I was always confused whether to host my services at home or SSD nodes, VPS. Any thoughts? That depends on you. It depends on your availability. It depends on what you want to spend your time doing. If you're doing something like a droplet situation where you just go rent, a couple of CPU cores and some RAM and some storage from from any of the providers out there, you're still going to be most likely doing all of your own server maintenance anyway. And it might only be $5 a month, which may make total sense for you. And if that's the case, then rock on with that. However, the problem with doing it that way is if they go out of business or their price structure changes or they get DDoSed or whatever the case is, you're at the mercy of them. And they, in a way, kind of own all of your data and they can hold it ransom if they want. I know that's really reaching, but that's how my brain works sometimes. So I go for the worst possible thing and work backward from there. But I really like self-hosting. A lot of people here like self-hosting. It's what we do. But yeah, so that's all going to depend on what you want to do and that sort of thing. MediaTek. Jump into the Discord, chat about it with us over there. To my own second reenlistment in the Navy. Just saying that the name is enough to make all our phones and PCs explode. Yeah, LimeWire was its own. Dude, I caught so many viruses from that. I was so bad about it. Never got a DMCA though. I was really happy about that. But I was also one I would grab and delete. Like I was that guy too. We do have a lot of fun with Invoke in the Discord. Dankster uses something else that's way more complicated, but he also gets amazing results. So, Ben, thank you for hanging out. Really appreciate you being here for a bit, hanging out, chatting. Definitely come hang out in the Discord. Sebastian says the horrible thing about Plex is that you have to make an account. I'm trying to switch to Jellyfin. Also, they have Tizen apps that you can compile and deploy on the TV. Yeah, I don't like to compile my own stuff. I always second guess it when I have to do that kind of stuff. And I get the not wanting to make an account. Like if you're trying to go completely off grid, Plex isn't the way to do it. But I like it, so it's what I use. Benjamin, all right, that's easy enough. Yep, those are words that I haven't interacted with in a while. Craig. Yeah, and like Thomas W says there, the beauty of self-hosting is that you own your data. 100%. And it's why I do some of the things that I do. It's why I use Cloudflare. And I know that a lot of people think that that's a crap way to do it. That man in the middle thing. They can look at your data. Sure, okay, but again, like I said earlier, not all of my stuff has been above board, and they've never given me any crap for it. Okay, I have to ask, what's the best advice you can give someone like me about home labbing and home server? Start small. 100% start small. If you can pick up a mini PC, I don't care if it's Intel. I don't care if it's ARM. I don't care. And Intel is better for a few reasons, just to get familiar with it, right? But start. He uses Comfy. Okay, sorry. I was looking at Colin's response to Dankster, what I said about Dankster. So start small. Don't jump into self-hosting thinking I'm going to pass through a GPU and set up an AI and a Plex server today because that's something new I want to try. Don't do that. You'll want to put yourself under the house. Get familiar with the terminology. Like I started originally with Open Media Vault 5, and Open Media Vault 5 helped me understand the workflow on things. And then I got to a point where I didn't necessarily need Open Media Vault 5, but I was familiar with it, and it just made certain things easier, like creating users and assigning permissions to those users. Open Media Vault 5 was great for that. Again, I hated 6. 7 has started to come back around. I'm digging 7. But get familiar with Docker and Docker Compose. You can use a GUI, a graphical user interface like Dockage or Portainer or Yacht. I'm not as big a fan of honestly of Dockage and Yacht, just because they're developed by just a couple of individuals, and mad props to them for doing that. But very often their updates are few and far between. So I very often still use Portainer, but it also helps you learn kind of some of those processes. But start with something like a password manager. Start with single container setups. that you can easily understand what's going on. I would say start with like Vault Warden, because it's a very simple, easy to use app to deploy. Although there are issues with remote access and HTTPS stuff, but find something simple and learn how to deploy it, and learn how to break it, and learn how to fix it, and just start very small. And once you're comfortable with that, then you can look at something like, deploying like a WordPress instance, right? Not because you'll use it, but because it teaches you how to deploy an application that depends on a database container. So then you can start expanding from there. But I would say start small, and then grow as you're comfortable with, and ask a lot of questions. Ask a lot of questions. If you don't understand something, ask a lot of questions. And people out there will help you if you ask the right questions. But if you come in and just say, like, I tried to deploy this and it didn't work, it's not going to get you an answer. It's going to get you, people are going to mock you. People are going to make fun of you. In fact, here I'm gonna share something. Tech support. I made this video 6 years ago that I just shared again with somebody else the other day. So pop this open in a new tab. Go look at it later. But it's how not to get tech support, or how to understand how to get tech support. Sebastian, thank you. Says, by the way, I like your content. Jordan, I agree with that. Best advice is have fun and learn, but be careful. It can get pricey. That I agree with that. If you can pick up if you go to eBay, pick up an old workstation computer. You can pick them up for like $80, depending on what you're looking for. Throw some RAM, throw a hard drive in it, and just try some different things. And the reason I say get an old workstation that's being sold cheap, because it's likely going to have an Intel or an AMD processor in it, which will loosen the restrictions on what you can install. A lot of containers require a desktop motherboard. They won't support an ARM processor. So start with a cheap old workstation, because it won't cost you much. It won't be as efficient most likely, but it won't have the same limitations as something like an ARM processor will initially. However, if you use the containers that the folks over at Linux Server put together, they're really good about doing ARM and desktop support for most of their stuff. So, yeah. Do content. Yep, Collins is exactly right. It says Cloudflare doesn't care about your data. They're using the traffic patterns from the free accounts to help build their enterprise software and services. That's exactly right. They're looking for patterns. They're looking for anomalies in traffic to figure out what just happened there, so that they can fight against those same things happening on their big customers. We're guinea pigs for them, but what they give us is really, really great in return. So, start small over time. You can make a grocery list of apps and then build. Yeah, I agree with what Thomas says there. Also, with OMV being a love-hate relationship, I loved 5, I hated 6. 7's fine. It's whatever. I wouldn't start with Sonar and Jacket and those kinds of things, Sebastian, because you need to understand how to run all of that stuff through a VPN for the privacy and the anonymity things first. I feel like jumping into that is missing a step, because you want to understand VPNs and how to deploy one and run your traffic through it first. And I've made a few videos about that if you want to check that out on the channel. What else? Anyone here using a Raspberry Pi 5 Max? I am not MediaTek. Happy to help, Craig. DocMost. Yeah, DocMost is a great app to learn with. 100%, I agree with that. My first was and is an i7 33 or 3770. That's a decent processor. Gonzalez asks if there's a good tool to back up Vault Warden. Something actually just popped onto my radar recently. Back up Vault Warden. Yeah, something recently popped up about that. And I'll be damned if I can remember what it was called. There's Vault Warden Backup. I have not looked at it yet, though. I'm going to share it here. Something recently popped up. I can't think of the name of it, but that might have been it. My first Docker was Plex. One of mine definitely was. Thomas asks, have I been looking at Zima OS recently? I have. I'll show you. 76, yeah. Let's jump over to here. Let me get logged in. Move. Darn it. Sometimes, man. Oh, you're right. That user doesn't exist. All right, bottom screen. Yay. Hey, look, it's Zima OS. So this is actually what my Zima Cube is running. And this doesn't load for me very well. I'm sure if I refresh the page, it usually loads in just fine. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, like this is more or less what it came installed with. I added enclosed to it when I was doing some testing. But everything else on here was pre-installed. All of these different apps. Some of them you can't remove. Like settings, you can't do anything with. You can move things around though, so I dig that. You can move that all the way to the bottom. But what I really actually dug about Plex is that when I went in and looked at the settings, like it already had all of the stuff in here for like hardware stuff. Like it was when I jumped in to my Plex setup, like when I logged into this Plex instance, it had the processor as an available GPU passed through already. Which I really, really appreciated. And then I chatted with the folks that sent me the device over at Icewhale, Zima, whatever, and they were like, "Hey," and I told them I was like, "I got a GPU for this," and they asked me which one, because by default this has already got NVIDIA graphics drivers already set up and passed through on it as well. But they actually released another version with Intel graphics drivers passed through and ready to go. So. So now I'm actually able to use my Sparkle Intel A30 or whatever as my transcoder for Plex on the Zima Cube, and I really like where Zima OS is headed. I don't know that it's ready for prime time yet, but I really do dig where it's headed. Lazy Warden, yeah, that's the one. Thank you for that, Collins. Do appreciate that. An Overseer. I have COS OS running as a Raspberry Pi and love it. Yeah, dude. So here's the thing. Like I honestly think I was one of the. In fact, I think I was the very first person to make a video about COS OS, because I saw the interface. I saw a picture of the interface online somewhere, and I was like, "Holy crap, that looks amazing!" So I immediately installed it and loved it. Started making content about it. Made several videos about how to set it up and how to set up containers and do all kinds of stuff. I don't know why I haven't switched back to my face. There we go. But yeah, so I made a bunch of content about that. They reached out to me. They're like, "Hey, we got this Zima board. We'd like you to check it out. Let us know what you think." So they sent me one and I loved it. I made content about it. And I was like, "Hey, now send me 2 more." I was more professional than that, but they did. And then I installed Proxmox on it. And then I set up a 3-node high availability cluster on them. They worked wonderfully. And I had SSDs plugged into each one of them. So they each had their own storage pool on them. And of course I used ZFS for that, which maxed out the RAM like it's supposed to. But I was like, I want to do ZFS, or not ZFS, I want to do NFS for all of this. So I made a video with a bit of a clickbaity title that people hated. But all of the stuff I used in there was legit. People just hated my rationale for why I did it, and I get why now. But I used an NFS share on my Synology to support all of the high availability stuff. So if one went offline, they didn't have to move any of the storage because it was already somewhere else to start with. So anyway, because of all of that, I've had a really good relationship with the folks at Icewhale, COS OS, Zima Board, Zima Blade, Zima Cube now. And they're doing some really, really cool stuff. Though I do have some thoughts on the Zima Cube. I've got a bunch of footage that I've put together. I just need to kind of compile all of my thoughts and write a script and do it. But yeah, I dig the COS OS. I dig the Zima stuff. I dig the whole lineup of stuff. So big fan. Brian Seattle, dude, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you being here. Glad to see somebody else join. I think we're going to be here for a few more minutes. I wasn't planning to do a live stream at all today. But here we are about 3 hours later, and at like the 2 hour and 13-minute mark, I said I'd give us at about 3 hours. So, yeah. Let's see. I've been looking at the Zima board and I'm confused between the Zima board and the Zima blade. Okay. So, I was actually looking for the Zima blade earlier. Give me a second. I think Where did I put it? Man. Oh, Zima blade. Zima board. Man, where did it go? Crap. I have a Zima blade. I just don't know where it went. Sit down here. I bet it's down here. Of course, I like to say stuff that isn't true. I have the box for the Zima blade, but that's not helpful. Anyway, the problem that I have, besides that drawer not shutting, the problem that I have with the Zima blade, at least for a while, is that if you ordered the Zima blade, sorry, I'm still looking. If you ordered the Zima blade, you didn't know which processor you were going to get. You didn't know if you were going to get the 2-core or the 4-core, and you didn't know what you were going to get. And I had some issues with that. They've all got the PCI Express slot on there. The Zima board has 2 1 gig NICs. The Zima blade only has 1. This has got 2 USB ports. The Zima blade only has 1. Again, it's got the stuff for SATA if you want to add, an SSD or something to it. So it depends on what you're going to do with it. Is ultimately going to be your deciding factor on board versus blade. But I do believe the blade is cheaper. It is smaller. It is less powerful. It doesn't have as many IOs on it, or IO ports, whatever. So it's really a matter of what makes the most sense for you. Let's see. You have to drink Zima while working on it. I can't drink Zima. It gives me the nastiest heartburn. Same thing with Mountain Dew. Can't drink them. They give me heartburn. Thomas W says COS OS is my main Docker system. It has its quirks, but it can be overcome. I agree. I do. Jonathan, I hope I got that right. Says cheers from Venezuela. Thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you being here. Zima board was the original hardware. Zima blade is the newer hardware. Fairly similar specs. I have a Zima board. It's a nice piece of hardware. I agree. So the Zima Cube, it can actually be used as a NAS or as a media server. I'm actually using it for both right now. So if I let me come over to here and then do this, right? So like right here, I've got my Plex server up and running. I'm going to remove a lot of this extraneous stuff I'm not using. But you can jump over here to files, and then you've got, this is the hard drive, the Zima OS right here. That's your main hard drive with your operating system and that sort of thing. And then there's like main storage. That's where I've got all my media stored. And that is currently 4 6-terabyte drives running in RAID 5. So I've got 18 terabytes of hard drive space, give or take. Yeah, 18.2 of hard drive space available. But if I lose one of those drives, I got to replace it, right? I've got one redundant drive in there, I guess. So if something goes wrong, I can rebuild the array and not really lose anything. So it can be both. And because it is Zima OS, COS OS, they are just, and I'm not trying to like belittle what they are, right? I'm just, for the sake of simplicity here, Zima OS and COS OS are just graphical user interfaces to deploy Docker containers. Now I say that, and they have added some additional things like file management and that sort of thing. Although now that I think about it, remember? Oh yeah. So you can, sorry, it just took me a second. You can create additional users and give them, like Samba or FTP access so that they can share or upload their files here. You can install different Docker containers that will do the same thing. There's lots of different ways that the Zima OS or the COS OS can be used, depending on the hardware that you've got available to it. So they're cool devices. They really are. I'm just not sure that I'm not sure about the price on the Zima Cubes, if I'm being honest. But that's going to be for the review. In fact, Colin's brought up a virtualization host, and he's right. In fact, I just real quick here, right? Oops, not there. That's files. Okay, so this is my Zima OS dashboard, and if I go to right here, oops, I swear I'll get better at this. There we go. This is my Zima OS dashboard, and there's App Store, so you can just come in and install any number of pre-built apps. You can also add your own stuff doing it this way, filling in the blanks, or you can drop a Docker Compose in there or a Docker CLI. They've got lots of ways to deploy Docker containers in this. But they've also got this app here that says ZVM, which is Zima Virtual Machine. And if we open this up, yeah, you can just, like, it came with a Windows 10 trial on it. I haven't activated it or done anything, but you can virtualize stuff on here as well. And eventually I may do another Zima OS video. I did one a year or so ago. But yeah, no, they've got some cool stuff coming with the Zima OS. So, let's see. Right. Have you seen the Hamanazis, Chinese with some older tech? I have never heard of any of those things in that order, Keith Mans. I apologize. Zima reminds me of the Bad Night Out in... Yeah, that's fair. I have a remote side where I download photos. We're at home or unregistered. That's okay. Seeing things great for doing that kind of thing if you've got it set up correctly. It can be a real pain if you don't set it up correctly, but it can be a lot of fun and easy to use if you set it up right. Say this, I got so much from your videos, Cloudflare, WordPress, and self-hosted. Dude, that's great, Shivak. I'm really, really glad to hear that. That's great. The RAID works well. Zima OS has VM capabilities. That's true. But it only... Yeah, look, I'm sure that they're going to be working on that kind of stuff for a while. I don't know that I would actually go Zima OS full-time for a lot of things, but for what I'm going to use it for, it'll be great. Zima Pro, but it's pretty pricey. I agree. Like, I don't know that if I was paying for it, I don't know if I would have a Zima Cube Pro. But again, that'll come... It's a great device. If you can afford it, if you want something simple that just works, it's a great device. If you're more tech savvy and you know how to build a computer, may not be for everybody. But I got it as the Kickstarter campaign. Oh, for $600, that's pretty good. You're not shipping to the UK. Oh, wow. I kick out of myself for not jumping in the Ukraine NAS Kickstarter. Let's see. I feel the CPU is better than Ukraine NAS, so happy to hear. Yep. Do you know what kind of RAID they use? Thomas is asking, do you know what kind of RAID they use? I don't know. Let's go dig around a little bit. I know I'm using a RAID 5, but beyond that, storage RAID 5, protection mode. I want to say it's better FS. But I can't be 100% on that. I should have. What file system does Zima Cube RAID use? Let's find out. That's not helpful. Or I guess Zima. See, I worded that wrong. That's why it gave me a bad answer. Zima OS will have storage manager to unify the expand up to 10 drives mentioned above. And this file system is ext4, supports RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5. And it looks like that was from this. So it looks like ext4 then. I thought maybe it was Btrfs. Okay. And I'm actually glad to hear that they got rid of the mergefs from COS OS. I don't have a leg to stand on as far as that's concerned, but mergefs kind of gave me bad vibes. So, Zima Cube, yep. All right. Let's see, Zima Cube, yep. Oops, man. One of these days. Thinking about adding Cockpit to COS OS for all around use. Yeah, I've never actually used Cockpit. I think I installed it one and dug around a little bit and then never used it because I was already using Proxmox by that point. So I never actually got into using it. But after working in a server room for a year as part of my degree, I knew when I installed 4 16 terabyte Seagate Red Pro drives and I bought the 5th one, yep, that's the way to do it. So, yeah, very well could be. But yeah, so that's the kid coming in again. Man, I may have to get off here. My sinuses are starting to feel like I'm getting a sinus infection, and I'm not enjoying that. Oh, you. So that is another part. One of the issues I have with my home assistant, because I'm sitting here, like I've got a millimeter wave from a car up there that recognized me, but when he came through, it re-grabbed him. So, give me a second. Let me come back over to here. In fact, I'll just show you how I do this. We'll do bottom screen, and I'll come over to here to settings, and then automations and scenes, and studio presence. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. So I did it automatically. I didn't have to do that. Oh, she loves me. Thank you. She brought me one of my new favorite beers. So I'm actually going to turn off the studio presence off routine there for a little while. Yeah, so the kid came through, took over what my presence in there, and when he went through, the Akara did what it said there was nobody else in the room. So, yeah. Face. There's my face, and there's my really good beer. Let's see here. Cockpit was a staple for Tiny Linux. I think I used Tiny Linux once just to check it out, and then moved on. He's dressed like me, sitting in my shorts. Yeah, he loves to be in his shorts, unless he doesn't want to be in shorts. He's real picky about what he wears when he wears it, but he also associates what he's wearing with what he's doing that day, but often for all the wrong reasons. So it's interesting. Let's see, darkness in the shadows. Yeah, just for a minute. Let's see. This is so. Oh, did we lose focus on me? No, we're good. This is FH Beerworks, and it's their pumpkin shake. We just got it yesterday, and it's like drinking a pumpkin pie. Like there's a lot of. We actually got 2 different pumpkin beers yesterday. One of them's very sweet, very in your face, so to speak. But this one's very chill. It's just like drinking a pumpkin pie. It's amazing. Really dig it. So having a beer. Let's see. Craig says, hope having with a disability can be lonely, but having a blast tonight. I'm so glad to hear that. Like it really can be. It really can be. Because like we're like a niche within a niche within a niche. And it's sometimes hard to find others within all of those sub niches. So yeah, so this is why we've got the Discord. There's a few of us who've got our disabilities, and there's a few of us who don't, and we all get along, and we all talk about tech and life and what we're doing that day. We often start our days together with coffee and that sort of thing. And like we've got a dude that lives in Australia that like as our days are starting, his days are ending, and we kind of overlap and chat for a while. And yeah, so we have a good time over there. Class OS, Regime OS. Yeah, spin up a new VM. Absolutely. No pumpkin anything. Oh, pumpkin bear. Craft computing hour. Not right. Yeah. Yeah, I've often wondered how he got away with that, but he's not advocating drinking, so I guess it's fine. Sorry about typos and that brain injuries. Dude, no, I get it. Like I will, there are often times in here, in fact, you may have even picked up on it a couple of times where like I'll be saying something and I'll just glaze over for a minute and my brain's still going, but I don't know what I'm thinking. So no, I get that. I do. No judgment whatsoever as far as that's concerned. But yeah, no, we, oops, I should unplug that. But yeah, so no, we're just hanging out. We're having fun in Discord. I'm really gonna try to do these live chats or these live streams more. Whether it's doing stuff like I did earlier where we were just clearing out unnecessary stuff on a tablet, or just hanging out BSing with you guys. I love doing all of that. Now that the weather is better, I will be less likely to be against it. So, Cosmin or Rodriguez has just finished watching one of your videos. Which video did you watch, Cosmin? I'd love to know. And Craig says it's 12:30. Yeah, you guys are. God, it's 5:30 here. Holy crap! I did not intend for this to go this long. That's crazy. Yeah, it's like 5:30 here. Dang. done at 6 a.m. and said, "Did you forget to go to bed?" Yeah, yeah. I have been there. I used to have really really bad insomnia. There for a while, I was I was taking a lot of meds in ways I shouldn't have been because I was trying to deal with pain and anxiety and all kinds of sleep disorders and all kinds of stuff. So I was mixing and matching meds, and there were days in a row where I wouldn't sleep after taking a Flexerol and a hydrocodone and a trazodone. I would take all three of those 3 times a day, and I still wouldn't sleep for like a week at a time. It was miserable. So there were days where I just wouldn't go to bed because what's the point? So yeah, it's sometimes you can easily forget to go to bed. Jordan, I believe that it's still really hot there. I had a friend that went down there. I mean, it was a couple of months ago, but for her birthday, for some Beatles thing, and she said it was just miserable. Like the whole time she was there, she was either in her room under the air conditioner, or it was like late at night when it wasn't quite as hot. So I can't even imagine. Let's see, was something about self-hosting. I'm starting my journey to. Already got a website up and running. That's cool. That's really neat, Cosman. I'm glad. Thanks for sharing that. I've been playing Apple Arts Adventures, and now he convinced me to try and build a server cluster with thin clients for low power setup. That's cool. I've never heard of that creator. I'll have to check him out. But to everyone on tonight, I have to thank you. It was meant the world, dude. Craig. It's been great having you here. Thank you for spending some time here. Really do appreciate that. Love playing with my new NAS and learning about new apps and learning how to self-host more and more things. 100%. 7:30 in New York. Got to bail. Yeah, I think I'm about to bail too. Pena Lord says, greetings from Romania. I just wanted to express my gratitude for all the invaluable information that you've shared. I've learned so much from Linux to Docker, Cloudflare, CosmOS, and more. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hopefully liking, if nothing else. I know not everybody likes to comment, but I hope you at least give the video a thumbs up. Really want to thank everybody who's been here. We've been at this for 3 hours and 16 minutes, according to this, maybe a little less than that, depending on real numbers. I don't know. What does this say? What does this say? Yeah, about 3 hours and 16 minutes. Man, that's crazy. Especially since, again, I didn't plan on doing a live stream today. But no, that's cool. I want to thank you guys again for hanging out with me today. There have been almost 700 of you in and out through all of this. I'm sure some of you are back and forth, and that's cool. Jordan's funny. Don't play with your NAS too much. You might go blind. But yeah, no, thank you all for hanging out. I really do appreciate you. If you guys would all do me a solid here, and I know it seems silly, but if you enjoyed, sorry, I'm just looking. If you guys enjoyed the stream, will you just give it a thumbs up, just so that hopefully other people will have the opportunity to see this. But yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. It is 5:30. We got to feed the kid here in an hour and a half, and then I think the wife and I, like I said, we're going to do shrimp and veggies for dinner, and I think we're going to watch the second Harry Potter movie. We've been talking about that for a bit. We're going about once a year. We go through a Harry Potter run through. We just did one a couple of weeks ago, and I think we're going to do number 2 tonight. So, but yeah, no, Glenn, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you. Everybody else who's been here in and out, thank you again. I can't stress that enough. You guys really do make all of this possible. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Again, I'm going to try to do these like once a week when I can. It should be easier these days. So I guess with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I'm going to thank you guys for spending a few minutes of your day with me today, and I'll talk to you in the next video.